Hopefully it starts to cool off a little bit here over the weekend. Go ahead, as usual, and start off with some public comment this morning. I don't see anybody up on Zoom, so we'll start here with the chamber. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I'll wait.
Whomever.
Okay. So, my name is Patrick Mitchell. I'm an eight-year member of the Leonardville Hustlers 4-H Club. And I just came here to thank the commission for supporting 4-H, the Riley County 4-H, and specifically here this morning to say thank you to John Ford and Greg McKinley for their part in sponsoring the livestock premium sale, the premium for my steer. And I brought you each fire ribbons and 1 plate of brownies for both of you.
Nice. That's worth every dollar. All righty, thank you.
Now put it between it. It's on that side. I don't know.
I wasn't arguing, you noticed that, right? All righty, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Maverick.
Yeah, that's a picture of your
Yep.
steer?
Yep.
Okay, good deal.
So you bought that or?
You
No, we did.
said you had 8 years so far, so going for a couple more?
Probably, yeah.
Got big plans for the future?
Just the same old thing.
Same old thing.
Show
Okay.
steers, goats.
Okay. Well, we appreciate it very much. I had a chance to walk through and look at all the animals. I'm always so impressed by the love and the care, and it was a little warm that day, so. The effort that's goes into that, nobody I think really understands that sometimes. So thank you very much, both of you. Yeah.
Thank you guys. We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we'll enjoy those brownies.
You put enough in there so that maybe everybody on the commission.
We'll share. We'll make sure to share. with everybody, yeah. Okay.
Sugar.
Okay. Did you have some comments, Sue?
Yes. Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Mel Boers, and I just wanted to comment on the new status of the former First Christian Church, this building that the county now owns. With the register nomination accepted, it is going to be eligible for tax credits and possibly grants. And similar to the status of the courthouse, and not sure if this latest repair project is eligible, but it may be eligible for 25% of tax credits. And so just wanted to make a comment about that. And that over the weekend, that church property gained 25% financial value to the county because of that. If you'd like to know more about the financial rewards of owning that building, we'd be happy to arrange an official from the state preservation office to explain the potentials there. So, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment this morning? Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public comment section off, and we'll move on to commission comments and start with Commissioner McKinley.
So, Tuesday, I was on K-Man in Memphis. First time getting to do it in person, which for me, it makes it easier for me to see a person instead of talking on the phone. Primary subjects covered were the upcoming sales tax election, the budget, the church property, and a little bit on masks. Had a good discussion on all the topics, and I think I was able to get out a lot of good information and stuff. After the radio, I went to the Flint Hills Veterans Coalition meeting. Most of the meeting was set up working on the details for the Veterans Day Parade. They also talked about their scholarship. They should have scholarships for some of the students too. And I mentioned before, I've been tasked with organizing the setup and takedown of barricades. I'm going to be sending out some requests for volunteers from the county. At those meetings, I was able to talk with past county commissioners at both of them. Met with Dave Lewis when I was at K-Man, and then talked with Mike Kearns, one of the Flint Hills veterans. And Tuesday evening was Raleigh City Commission, and it was canceled due to a lack of quorum. Wednesday evening was Randolph City Commission meeting, and went over some stuff about what we've done with the budget, kept a flat mill levy. That I also discussed again the upcoming sales tax question. Keep everybody informed on that. And I also want to remind everyone this weekend is Hullabaloo in Leonardville. Lots of events for the whole family.
That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
Right. No.
No.
Friday evening and all day Saturday.
Okay. I caught a flyer. Go through the entire itinerary on that. Okay. Okay, Commissioner Foki.
Okay, Monday afternoon, I went to the Be Able facility. Are you familiar with what they're doing?
Mhm.
Okay,
I
I
know
just wanted to
Scott
make sure. I know I've talked about it before. And worked on the organization and preparation for the community meal and free haircuts that evening. Common Table Monday meal handed out to-go meals, and Platinum Hair Company, who have provided free haircuts for the community since about 2014, except for last year. And they're always excited to provide the service to the community. They brought 7 hairstylists, which was great, and we cut about 41 heads of hair. And you have to come with a clean head of hair, but you know, it was great. And there was
Pictures I saw, there were people with lots of hair.
lots of hair.
Oh,
Yeah. We had, one of the volunteers was sweeping up as they went. So there was a lot of hair collected, which supposedly is good at gardens. I haven't had any luck with it, but anyway, it was exciting for people, and a lot of children were so excited, and especially to get a professional haircut right before the school starts. So it's always been a great event for the community, and so happy to have it continue. And we're hoping to schedule another one around Thanksgiving time for the holidays. So Tuesday, I reviewed the meeting notes for the Entrepreneurial Task Force, but I was unable to attend due to their change of day and time and a conflict that I have. I'm planning to get together with Stephanie Pfeiffer probably Monday to review the final meeting analysis. That should have been the last meeting of the task force. So that evening, I attended the Personnel Support Committee at my church. We have a new pastor coming at the end of the month. We bought a new house in town, and so, which is always good. And we went over job descriptions, staff, and budget. So it seems like budget is always an issue for everyone. So, Wednesday, went up to Keats Park to check on the playground progress. It's proceeding along well. Several people that I spoke to, it was really hot, so there weren't too many people around. They're pleased that it was coming along after a long wait. Still don't know what that big pile of dirt's going to do, but the sand is level now. So
Well, if you leave it there wintertime and get enough snow, you could sled.
yeah, you could.
Fills it up a little higher.
Yeah, that's the thought.
But I'm sure it'll all work out. A lot of the equipment is there, so it's looking pretty good. So I thank the Public Works for getting on that and getting that work done as quickly as possible. So that's all I have.
Okay. Well, as for me, Monday afternoon, I had my bi-weekly community leader Zoom call with officials from University, Via Christi, Rafine, the city, and of course the health department to discuss the ongoing COVID-19 efforts here locally. Most of this discussion this time around just kind of centered by each entity's current plans and local protocols. We discussed a little bit about CDC and KDHE's guidance on quarantine policy with all these events and concerts and everything else going on. Recent numbers, cases, and reporting, and other several relevant current topics on the subject. And we'll be meeting again via Zoom on the 23rd for that. So big thanks to Bruce Chadley, our executive director of KAC, because Clancy wasn't here when he showed up. He came to, I think it was our July 21st meeting. See, this is why I have actual calendar in front of me, July 22nd meeting. And just check us out, see what was going on. Of course, with that, he put us in the KAC's August 2021 Raleigh County comment section. I think it's on page 4. Just wanted to take a moment and say thanks for that, highlighting Riley County. I always like it when staff and employees and everybody gets recognized and honored, no matter what it is at that point in time. And took a pretty good picture, I thought, of all of us in chamber that particular morning. Early in the week, I actually got on the whitehouse.gov site and was kind of looking and breaking down some of this, Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act bill and what it may mean to Kansas as a whole. I mean, they really haven't broken it down specifically, but have some estimations. It looks as if Kansas would probably receive about $2.6 billion in aid out of that. When you think about the larger amount of that, that's really not that much, but that's a whole different subject. But $225 million, that's supposed to be for bridge replacements, $273 million for public transit, $100 million to expand broadband, and roughly $40 million for electric vehicle charging stations is what they're listing on there. It occurred to me that, coupled with last year's CARES Act funding and the certain amounts of pools of money they're getting for ARPA funding, that there really shouldn't be necessarily any excuse why the state mandated funds, the LMETR and CCR funds, shouldn't be funded at this point in time. And if you're going to make the excuse that they don't have money to fund it, I'm not understanding exactly how at this particular point in time. So I'm going to be really interested moving forward to see what the excuse is for not funding those state mandated statutes moving forward, because I don't think you can use the excuse we don't have enough money. That's just kind of a broad overview and a thought that I had when reviewing all that. Lastly, for me, yesterday I had a Zoom call with both Kent Glasscock and Bob Koppel from Ascension Via Christi. It was kind of a follow-up on last month's symposium on local and regional healthcare challenges. None of that's COVID related, just so everybody knows. But I did update them on both on plans that we've been discussing here in Riley County, for instance, future EMS facility, public and mental health facilities, and infrastructural upgrades. Along with that, certainly appreciate both gentlemen taking time out of their busy schedule to chat and follow up with me on the original conversation and taking the time to incorporate everything else. So in the broad sense, what everybody is trying to do and accomplish, as part of that dialogue and discussion, however it forms and however it moves moving forward. So, and with that, that's all I have this morning. So I guess we can go ahead and move on to some business this morning, Rich.
First time I have any motion to approve plaza reservation request for downtown Manhattan Inc. Thursday, August 19th, 2021, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. for third Thursday. It's just access to electrical.
Okay.
I would make a motion to approve the plaza reservation request for downtown Manhattan Inc. for Thursday, August 19th, 2021, from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock.
Just one question.
Thursday.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there at the end. I just wanted to, the board always indicates whether or not you approve loudspeakers. This starts at 4. The courts are usually concerned if there's loudspeakers used during the time of regular business.
We're talking, is there going to be any, first off?
The event doesn't start until 5,
Okay.
so that's just setup time. I just gave myself an hour.
Gotcha.
buffer to just.
It always comes up.
And I'm not going to necessarily be worried about 1 hour or 1 day over one course of time.
So you're okay with
I'm
speakers?
okay with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and they
Just so
shouldn't
that-
start until 5. You're not starting till 5, so the
Right.
court should be.
It's just a buffer for me. I'm always doing so many things, so I just want to make sure that I have that time. And all I'm really doing is plugging cord in, so.
Just tiptoe around in case there's a court.
It takes you an hour to plug a cord in?
No, it takes me an hour to do everything else.
Oh,
So I just to be on the safe side.
Okay.
But nothing loud will happen until 5.
Okay.
And it's not really even that loud. It's just a small amp.
You're good. It's just there's a space there and they've got to indicate.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
okay. It's been moved and seconded on the plaza reservation request for downtown Manhattan Inc. All those in favor?
Aye.
Chairman, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully the weather will get a little cooler.
I have one normal.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Now, this will be the
Everybody
one.
do their normal weather days. Thank you.
Next, I need a motion on CIP authorization form purchase, authorization approved August 5th, 2021 for courthouse stone replacement and patching. Cost $32,571.
I have to admit on this one, I was actually pleasantly surprised. Now, do keep in mind that doesn't take care of what our plans may need to be on the west side there, correct? See,
That was already included, remember? They said that was already included in
okay.
the original price, is what John reported.
So it's mainly the south side.
Correct, yeah. And I thought that was very, very reasonable considering, so.
We're going to maybe, as Mr. Force suggested, check into some sort of grants on that.
He was talking about the church, not the,
We did talk about
The courthouse.
Courthouse
might be
also.
too,
You delayed the project at this point on that.
But you can't do it after the fact. I
Right.
think you have to do it before.
Right.
So,
Just got to go for the whole review process and they're on the job now.
yeah. I'd move to approve CIP authorization form. Approved on August 5th.
Yeah, I would second that.
okay, it's been moved and seconded on the CIP authorization for the extra courthouse stone replacement and patching. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chairman, please, at the very bottom.
You know, all the fun stuff.
Yes.
You. Next, Raleigh County Personnel Action Forms. Brian J. Fangman, new hire, Traffic Control Tech, Public Works Department. Kyle Boff, Contract Tracer, Health Department, Separation Service. Anita Bloom, as needed, Clerical, Planning and Development, Separation of Service. Courtney Beekman, Status Change, EMT, and the EMS Ambulance. All three, please.
It's 4.
All three of you sign.
Oh, all 3, okay.
Commissioners have any topics for the joint city county meeting? Any items for the intergovernmental luncheon?
I don't, not for August, but I am gonna have Cindy put on the sales tax presentation for September, or October, and figure out which month we're gonna do that.
We'll see if anyone else has any topics for intergovernmental.
On the tentative agendas, on the 19th, I have 11:30. Hopefully, we keep the agenda in that time frame if all possible, please. That's next Thursday.
It'll probably be done by 11.
Yeah.
I may have to Zoom, kind of depends on what happens on my surgery on Tuesdays. May not be able to drive it.
Next item, need a motion to approve accounts payable and payroll.
That's approved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on approval of accounts and payroll. Favor?
Aye.
All three sign 3 documents, please.
Slow.
I also have a letter for the commissioners to sign. It was one that was approved on Monday for Haley Winslow. Previous action had been taken. There's just a correction on it evidently.
Okay.
No action, just it's already been approved.
All right.
Ready for the minutes when the board is.
Pulled up and ready to go?
Yep.
Okay. Start with page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Lastly, page 8.
Move to approve the minutes of the August 9th, 2021 meeting.
Second that.
It's been moved to second on approval of the minutes from the August 9th, 2021 BOCC meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Tentative agendas look, commissioners.
Good.
Any items for next week's press conference?
And myself.
Okay, thank you. Just drop me an email or give me a call. Next, we have Mr. Holman at 9 o'clock.
Okay. Thank you for coming in.
Well, thank you. He also is going to the Washington trip in a few years, so we have to,
Oh, good, yeah.
that's why I'm around for a bit.
Okay, good. We'll get the most out of that. That sounds awfully fun.
The qualifications part of it, one of it is attend the meeting, so.
Okay,
All right.
well, hopefully we didn't bore you too much. Take
Thank you
care.
all.
So you bought a steer or would you?
You pay this premium, yeah, we don't. If you want to buy it, you have to pay the price what the steer's worth. This is just to give premiums to all the red or blue and above.
Yeah.
But they sell all the stuff.
I get it. I think it's a $50 stipend for judge, and so instead of taking that, we'll apply it to that, and then I added an extra $50, so it's a full
Oh, okay.
$400.
It's amazing how many people know that.
Mhm. But
And I
considering
talked to
it-
someone, I mean, this is my first time, I've heard it, I knew it was a lot, but I talked to someone that said, yeah, premiums for this year were, a lot of them, you know, like added to what they usually, because they didn't get to do it last year.
Yeah.
they Added some extra this year. I did get passing rate on my radio. It's my
From your wife?
No, like Oh, of course, she's always saying, oh, God, it was great. But no, my teenage grandson, usually he's in school, his first time then listening to it. He said I started off kind of stumbling.
Critiqued you, huh?
I hammed it on a little bit, but after about 5 or 10 minutes, I kind of got moving. I did a really good job. So
That kind of happens in an
Oh, wow.
interview, so.
usually I do that all the way through, I thought. But he gave me a good grade. So I thought
That's good for her grandson. How old is he?
14,
14?
start freshman. However many, whatever, it's the start next week.
Yeah, I think they start the week after. Teachers show up on Friday. It's their first day for teachers next week.
Is that the same for everybody?
Since I sleep with the teacher, so.
No, well, he's in Manhattan.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, that's why I don't know. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I think they do start earlier.
Topeka already started. That kind of surprised me.
Riley started late because of the construction project. They
Mhm.
moved it back to as late as they could to make sure everything was completed.
Did they have some kind of a thread or something at the elementary school? out
Oh,
there?
Junction.
Junction.
Junction,
Okay. I
yeah.
didn't catch where.
Because they started school yesterday.
I didn't hear the details on that, but
I
I did
didn't
hear
either.
that.
Obviously, I didn't because I didn't even know where it was.
Critiqued by a grandson, huh?
Yep. Well, if they're liking you at age 14, that's actually that's a pretty good endorsement.
last.
Yeah.
You gonna start out with the church, or you gonna do the exact
Church,
church?
depending on how slowly I go through that, I may table executive session.
Right. No problem.
Maybe rephrase, I'll ask the board to table that.
Hey, Clancy.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Clancy Holman, Riley County Council. The commission agenda report I have before you today, as it indicates, pretty straightforward, that simply for a review of what the next steps are for the board, a discussion between staff, any of you call upon and the board about next steps. Because as you know, as the car indicates, last Saturday, the former First Christian Church, that property that you now own, was designated as, it's listed, is what the phrase that's used, on the State Register of Historic Places. And that does some things and does not do some things. And the way to analyze that really is to look at, in order to determine what your next steps are under the law, that's going to be determined by, first of all, by statute. State law, what we're familiar with the legislature passing, but also Kansas administrative regulations, which are passed by the agency involved, not by the legislature. And then finally by, and this really governs the end result in many things like this, how do the published decisions of the appellate courts that control, and it's not every decision the appellate courts that control, but how do the published appellate decisions of the Kansas courts that have any relevance on the issues involved, what do they say about the statute and about those administrative regulations? Because that's really what your guidance is in a case like this. So we can start with the statute itself, and that's probably all I have time to kind of just go over a little bit today. And that's KSA 75-2724. And copies are up on the screen. And I've highlighted some sections I do want to talk about. There's a myth out there that once a property is designated on either the Kansas Register of Historic Places or the federal, the National Register of Historic Places, well, that's the end of it. There's nothing that can be done with the property. That absolutely is not true. It does provide some parameters by statute of those administrative rights and court decision, but what it does not say is, okay, now hands off. You own the property, you can't do anything. What this does say in the opening provision that I've highlighted it is that because it talks about not only state but political subdivisions and puts this restriction on it, you cannot undertake any project which will damage or destroy a property that has been listed without doing a couple of things. First, you have to notify under the statute the State Historic Preservation Officer. The State Historic Preservation Officer was part of that board that this issue was in front of last Saturday morning. And there has to be notice to that office, that state officer. As you read down further in the statute, and it talks about the State Historic Preservation Officer may solicit the advice and recommendation of the Historic Sites Board of Review with regard to whatever project they've been notified about. So obviously, the State Historic Preservation Officer can solicit opinions, recommendations from that State Historic Board of Review. You'll notice what hasn't happened so far. Nothing here says that any of that project can be stopped. It doesn't say that. And we're going to get to some things that bear on that question. And whatever a project is. It does talk about, as you go further down in the statute, and where it's highlighted, and that there can be public hearings directed by the State Historic Preservation Officer. And just to back up a little bit, you also have the authority to have a public hearing. We're going to get to that in just a second. That's not what this is. This is not the public hearing that is described in that statute. I want to emphasize that for anyone who's either in the gallery or who's listening or who hears about this discussion. This is not what we're doing today. Okay? This is just a work session for purposes of giving you some guidance as to where you stand right now legally. And it does talk about, as the highlighted section there on the screen shows, any such public hearing that's called by the State Preservation Officer, hearing or hearings, has to be held pursuant to this subsection. And it has to be basically within 60 days from the date of receipt of notice, because there is a notice provision for any project that's going to be undertaken by any governing body that owns an historic property. Further down here, it talks a little bit about, and here's a key part. Here's one thing you always want to pay attention to in a statute. When you're talking about the rights of the party involved, if I can just get this down here. Highlighted that section that says that project that you've notified the board, that they notified the State Historic Preservation Officer about, whatever that project might be, and that's if you ever notify them about a project. It cannot proceed until, okay, that's what the first thing a lawyer reviewing this is going to highlight. Okay, until, wait a minute, there's a colon here in the text, and it says Either the part that doesn't apply to us, of course, would be talking about what the governor does in case of a project that the state or an instrumentality does. Or the governing body of the political subdivision, that's you, of course. And in the case of a project of a political subdivision, there has to have been made a determination based on a consideration by you of all relevant factors that there is no feasible and prudent alternative to the proposal, whatever that proposal is. And that the program includes all possible planning to minimize harm to such historic property resulting from such use. It's quite a mouthful, but all those things have to be done with regard to that hearing that's held at the local level. And I won't get to that today. I won't have time to get to it. We'll be discussing that another time probably. But there are definitions in the Kansas administrative regulations that tell us what those things mean, what has to be done. And you have to give, after that hearing, in the next section that's highlighted, 5 days notice of whatever your determination is made at that hearing. You have to get it by certified mail to the state historic preservation officer. And I will tell you that the administrative regs also tell us what has to be in that notice. It has to be a specific matter. Now, again, a lot of hoops. This is where there's a little bit of divergence here from that myth, okay, that you can't do anything with your hand tied. That is simply not true. You have to jump through some hoops if you decide to do anything regarding certainly anything that this talks about damage or destroy the property. But you have similar obligations to that, even for things like repair, which really bears on the most recent approval of asbestos removal. I've already talked with John Elvin, and I'll be sending up some information on that. That's the chances of that being opposed in any way by the Historic Preservation Society, I would assume, are nil, maybe less, because if you're removing asbestos, that's good, no matter what. If you're removing friable asbestos. But I will tell you that's something I've already talked with Public Works Director Ullman about, just giving me the information so that I could send it up there in order to comply with the statutory scheme, because once the designation is in place, there are these certain hoops that have to be jumped through. And then it talks about just below that. This kind of bears on that myth about not being able to do anything. That's really, that's not determined by the statute, but everything I've described so far, nothing I've told you so far about the statute says that, well, the state preservation officer looks at this and says, stop. The state preservation officer is entitled to investigate, to make recommendations. But so far, in what I've described to you in this process, has no authority to stop any project. But what has to happen is, again, they have the result. They've got the result of whatever hearing is held at the local level, and they're entitled to make recommendations, to comment, to do that kind of thing. And here's where the new overlay really is that causes potential delay or possibly the end of a project or the inability to start a project that's been listed on the state register, because any person agreed by the determination is by the governing body pursuant to this section can seek court review of that. And what that's done by is they would be filing an action in the district court under the Kansas the Kansas Judicial Review Act. And the courts tell us what kind of things the reviewing court would look at and what kind of standard is going to be used for review. And that's really what determines in the end. And it doesn't mean somebody would file. Maybe there would be no aggrieved person that was challenging whatever the project was, because your project does not have to be demolition. It could be demolition, it could be something else, whatever it is. But it is subject to review by the courts. And what that overlay means is if the district court makes a decision that someone wants to appeal it, they can't appeal it then up the chain. It could go on to the Court of Appeals, and very unlikely, because only about, and with the figures recently, about 10% that cases that are on appeal from the Court of Appeals end up in front of the Supreme Court because there has to be a petition for review filed. And the Supreme Court does not, believe it or not, Kansas Supreme Court does not take everything that's in front of it. It's asked. So very often it will end at the Court of Appeals level. It also may not result in a published decision. That matters because only published decisions are precedent for future actions that are being undertaken by him. So it's key to be aware again. That's really where the rub is on something being determined to be a historic property in terms of the flexibility of local government that owns a historic property. Once the determination is made at the local level as to what kind of project you want to do with regard, if you want to do in the future. And there's no time limit here. There's nothing that says you have to do something in the next year, the next 2 years, the next 10 years, 15 years, whatever. But if this board decides to do something, unless the statute is changed, it could be modified. This one's been in place for a while. And any changes to that statutory scheme would obviously apply. But for right now, for the foreseeable future, those are the rules that determine whether or not you can do anything with regard to the property in terms of certainly in regard to damaging or destroying property and property that's on listed historic Kansas places. I want to make this very clear because, as I said, there's a myth out there that's, quite frankly, a lot of lawyers probably, if you ask them if they haven't been involved in these proceedings, they would say, okay, once that's done, we're finished in terms of we own something, we can't do anything with it. Simply not true. It's just a matter for the board to decide at some point if it wants, do you want to undertake the project? And then it's a matter of complying with those rules about what needs to happen in terms of the board's decision-making process on it. What you look at, what kind of evidence you look at, and those also the overlay to that's going to be what do the Kansas reported controlling decisions say about how do you do that? When is it enough? When have you done enough to look at options, that kind of thing? Those are the very broad parameters, and this is something that also would engage any attorney's attention. It's nothing any board would do, but there is a fairly hefty penalty here if any board anywhere undertakes a project that's going to damage and destroy historic property included in the National Register of Historic Places or the State Register of Historic Places. They're subject to a civil penalty not to exceed $25,000 for each violation. So that's worth being aware of also. No board that's paying attention would just rush forward with anything anyway. Once this happens, I just want you to be aware that that's there because it is a fairly hefty penalty, and it also gives very broad authority to the Attorney General to seek penalties and other relief through actions filed in district court. Pretty broad grant of authority to the Attorney General in that event. Again, purpose was just to let you know what's out there in terms of statutory parameters for your decision making. There's still a lot of thought you're entitled to give to this in terms of doing anything or nothing. But I'd be glad to answer any questions you've got just on the materials that I've presented here. See if you have any questions.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. Thank you very much. Lee, don't want to get into, I can't, there's no way I can do the executive session in 5 minutes, I guarantee you that.
Do you want to put it at the back of the meeting today? Get it done?
We could do that.
Okay.
That'd be fine if the board would just move it. That'd be good.
Well, I'd make a motion that we move Pullman's executive session to the end of today's BOCC meeting from his administrative work time.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved to second on movement of the executive session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Clancy,
Yeah.
can you provide, like, I would like to have a copy of that.
Sure.
That statute.
You bet. Been like reading everything.
Yeah, it is.
You need too much of that sometimes. Always the goal.
Next, Commissioners, you have John Ellerman at 9:20.
You're taking everybody.
Know anything about that?
Never heard of it.
Never heard of that.
Long time.
Got you, didn't I?
Yeah, I knew I had forgotten, so, and I gotta do it when I remember, else I'll just forget about it. That's for sure. Ribbons.
Again, I don't really.
Cool.
Purple ribbons.
Instagram.
Passing around. That's most important.
You know, when my daughters won a lot of ribbons with a horse. And so at Christmas time, we were taking them apart and making wreaths out of them.
Nope.
Really? She had a box like this big of ribbons, so we were trying to figure it out. It turned out really neat. Got pretty good at it, and then you take a little, you fold, you cut in little strips, then you fold everything over, glue it onto it. It's like, what do you do with all those ribbons?
How's Gary doing? Not bad. What is it, about a month?
That's been a count.
Physical time here.
The last day on the payroll is the 17th of September.
Less than a month.
He's counting the days down, what they typically do.
That depends on much anyway.
None of it's been approved yet.
That's exactly right.
Hint, hint.
That's what employees forget, is it has to be approved.
To retire?
Only one more week for
Nikki's retired.
Yeah, I know, but you have to be approved to retire.
Okay, John, it is 9:20.
But to use your annual leave prior to, you do.
Yeah.
John Ellerman, Public Works Director. I am here today to discuss or to ask to sign a form to request funds from KDOT for our federal fund exchange. This year's amount obligated is $260,446.14. at a 90 cent on the dollar exchange rate, we would receive $234,041.53. This happens every year. She gets the money delivered into our CIP program to help us forward more projects or at the same time, submit the request to exchange. I'm also form to make the exchange. We'll use just the recent overlay project as our project too. Motion to approve and chairman to sign.
So, I don't know, why we got the money from feds, so we don't spend it, we go back to the state. But, yeah, this makes sense, that the state takes 10% of the money, it looks like.
Yeah, that's our administration fees. It's still, in the past, we would be able to do projects with this money. We could accumulate so many years worth of funds, do a project, being let through KDOT. Typically, those projects would bid higher than if the county would bid them themselves. The exchange also gives us the ability now to do maintenance projects where they weren't able to do maintenance before. They were like a bridge project or overlays maybe, but never like a chip seals and stuff, or even pilot aggregate. With this, we purchase the aggregate and get reimbursed for that, or however project we want to use to do that. But it has to be used for roads. So it's you probably saved that much in getting a little bit more back than if you were a bid project for KDOT.
It's just eases the restrictions on it.
It does ease up the restriction. You can use it for more things than road construction or road maintenance related than what you're used to be able to use it for.
Do we have to report then we don't have to make reports to the state then what we used it on?
We will. I will submit I would submit the pay estimate. How we're gonna do this one is I'll submit the pay estimate for the overlay project. We spent money on the overlay project. Please reimburse us with the $234,000. Then we have come to us to help us pay for that project.
So we don't actually get the money right now, it's just in a fund for us to tap
This is to
into?
request that we're gonna exchange it, then I'll do the submit reimbursement. And within a month, they should be given us a check.
Confusing how that all works.
You're involving 3 layers of government. It's kind
Yeah.
of
It's a lot less complicated than it used to be.
yeah.
Yes.
Thank goodness, huh?
Not bad enough.
Well, let's see how big is the stack of
Not
paperwork.
bad. There's only
Oh,
3
wow.
pages.
Oh, okay.
Really?
I'm suspecting.
They'll take 10% of your money real easy.
Yeah.
Well, I
Imagine
guess
that
you know, we
state-
got it this way, we didn't have the money yet anyway, so.
Yeah.
True, that is true.
Yeah, imagine that the state takes them.
Never happens.
Back to John's point earlier.
They take our money, but still complain that they don't have any money. I really would just like an answer to that personally.
Well, they did have like an overage, of what they didn't expect in the state, so. Got that
That's
out.
really underestimating what's actually there to make it look good though, so.
That's true.
I'd go ahead and move to approve the chairman sign the request to exchange federal funds with the state of Kansas and deposit funds in CIP.
I would second that.
They moved the second on the request to exchange federal funds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Chairman, please. Thanks, John. Thanks, Gary.
I was expecting a whole long list of paperwork on this one, so.
The state claims that 10% doesn't really cover the cost.
Yeah,
A number of years ago, when the governor actually changed that rate, changed to 25.75. So
Oh,
it'll take quite a more off. We feel fortunate to get this.
so
thanks, Gary.
where do they put that money? Back in the transportation fund or in general fund? You know,
Gary, that probably goes back into their transportation fund, doesn't it? KDOT fund? The money go to the KDOT fund, is this where it comes from?
Actually, it's federal money that comes to the state that is designated for local roads, rural roads. Kansas,
yeah, that 10%, where do they put it?
it pays the administrative costs that's, comes through the Bureau of Local Projects. Bureau of Local Projects, KDOT is one that administers this.
So it is through KDOT.
Okay, not the
It is
general
through
fund.
Yeah, our question was it through KDOT or general fund?
It's through KDOT. KDOT is the administrative arm for the federal highway. It has to go to them, it does.
Good. Thanks, Gary.
Okay.
Next commissioner, we have Shiloh at 9:30.
Government. Government.
So that's what we're part of that, I guess.
Yeah. I have to remind myself that's.
Yes.
I do. Morning, how are you?
And then you just think, what did I do?
Like anything, there's ups and downs. It's just life.
That's what I tell each candidate when they come in to file. I said, remember you asked for it.
You didn't tell me that.
Yes, they
You just
did.
Actually, I remember you telling me that after the fact.
After you got my filing fee, then.
After it was already, actually, after it was already said and done.
Ron Wells always claimed that I never had full disclosure on the amount of time, the overtime. He never saw an overtime check. He was. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Not too bad. Hotter than I like, but just so limited on good times to be away with tax rule, budget, elections. It's hard to find. It's more coming up.
You didn't hear it that time.
Ready, John?
Yes, sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Okay. You have.
Good morning, Shiloh Hager, Riley County Treasurer with the July revenue numbers. So the month of July, we ended up with a balance in the general fund of 21,702,241.58. And total fund balance, as of the end of July, of $60,354,446.58, which, just a reminder, that also includes the $7.2 million of ARPA money. And so when I try to do my apples to apples for this report, at this point last year was when we received the 14 million in CARES money, and now we have 7.2 million of ARPA money. And so if I take both of those out of the equation, we are up about 5.3 million in our total amount of funds for the end of July. Interest, I would love to say that I have good news about that, but we actually, at the end of July, are 14.19% under what we budgeted for interest income for 2021. Our active checking account rate for the month of July was 0.05%. And I did receive one CD bid in July for 0.06%. So got to capitalize on that every little bit that we can get. So I just know for August already, I've had 2 CDs come due. The first one came in right at 0.05%, so I went ahead and left it with them. And then I didn't get any bids on the one for this week. So, but that's kind of where we're sitting for interest income. Our general fund revenue detail for the month of July, we actually came in at 5.89% over what was budgeted for July. I will point out that, so in June, we'd received that extra or that supplemental city county highway money. We did receive our July payment, which is right here of that's sales tax. Right here, 269,455.34 is what went into the general fund, which still is a little bit less than what we had budgeted for 2020. Year to date, we are sitting at right about 15% over what was budgeted through the month of July. And we have collected 99.41% of total budgeted revenues for the calendar year. Any questions on any of those numbers?
Is that the one? Tops it, delinquent tax, what is that?
Sorry. Oh, just delinquent tax?
Yeah, what is?
Those are just delinquent tax payments that we've collected year to date.
Collected over. That's the back one. Yeah.
Correct. Mhm.
I thought that's what it was. It wasn't budgeted, but because we assume it's gonna be paid on time. Right?
Exactly.
They aren't,
Exactly.
yeah, okay.
So for sales tax for the month of July, I deposited $353,915.57, and July represents May sales. $176,957.79 went into each of our funds. You can see here that is 22% higher than what we received at this point last year. And one thing that I want to just point out is that this is the third month in a row that we came out over 41% over what was budgeted. So once again, this is a very typical amount compared to what we would be seeing around the Christmas spending season. So, here you can see on year to date. Year to date, our sales tax number is 13.9% higher than where we were in July of 2020. It's very, very similar to what we brought in last month, just 0.40% over what we had in June. And you can see here for just comparing this July to last July, it's 21% higher than last July. Any questions about sales tax?
What are the utilities? What does that include?
That would be like Evergy, that kind of thing.
Oh, okay, so, all right, that's what I thought, but I didn't.
Just a few, anything, any other questions? Just a few things with the treasurer's office. You will see, next Tuesday, the first delinquent real estate publication will be in the paper, so we will run that for the next 3 Tuesdays. And we are seeing just a steady amount of renewals and titles still coming in to the treasurer's office. I just wanted to remind you, just in case you hear anything from the public, that next Monday, we go live with the Noon and Vetus program. So that migration is happening over the weekend. So just keep your fingers crossed that everything goes smoothly and we don't see a lot of, problems. Yeah. But other than that, things are going pretty smooth.
Good. Continue to hear good things about people that are coming in for services, so.
We do our best.
Sure.
Like Rich says, we signed up for this job.
It's good.
It's like our food sales, accommodations are way up, which is good.
Yeah.
And the department stores, it's good.
I think, having the compensating use or the e-sales tax, I guess, she was.
Oh, I guess I didn't, I forgot.
You got it on the back there, but.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and it's up quite a bit too.
Yes.
And May isn't typically a busy month retail wise. People get ready for summer, moving, camping, that sort of thing, so.
It's a busy month as far as graduations, a lot of things.
Yeah. Seems like a long time ago now, May, but but still, yeah. The fact that we're up, is that 6.95%? So actually, it's kind of shifted back to your regular kind of brick and mortar situation from last year, but still up. Still good.
Yeah.
7% up over any type of taxes, still good.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, I will see you all again next month.
All righty, thank you, Shiloh.
Yeah.
Take care.
Next commissioner, you have Jason Smith at 9:45.
There he is.
Yeah. Jason, you see Jason very often. Good morning.
Morning.
Aaron, Dan.
How are you?
Good. How are
Good.
you?
You're doing good.
Can I borrow your pen real quick?
You can.
Just don't want to forget.
Write yourself some notes. Thank you.
She has sisters. She just goes somewhere else.
There's really. Didn't be surprised, huh?
It's gonna be like everything else, probably 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, probably right.
Yeah, yeah. 4 to 6 weeks. We're getting some new chairs because these are getting a little old, worn out, whatever you want to call it. So.
I was sitting there the other day, it's kind of, something's not right here, so just like, it's not right, something fell off. And my chair has gotten to the point where it's, I've been sitting in the same chair for so long, it no longer fully supports me, and it just.
I move with this one and it kind of moves with me now, so I'm kind of like, yeah. Yeah, we got one of them's got a broken arm and split covers and how long have we had these chairs?
Oh,
Since the
Lord, that's
creation of
right.
office chairs?
20 years.
Yeah.
20 years.
Yeah,
Yeah, Catherine's was really broken, the main structure.
I mean, like
So,
this over here, it's worn out on the one side, the arm cover's split.
got money's worth out of it.
Yeah.
4 to 6 weeks.
But we don't actually know that. I just kind of an assumption with the way things are going. But
Oh, yeah, for a project, I'm looking at it, looked at windows and called and I said 10 weeks out before we get
Yeah.
windows in.
I was like last year getting new home furniture. I got that over Memorial Day weekend and didn't get it till Labor Day weekend. Do the math on that one.
That's some exterior work done, the house is some of it, just those things that have to be done, just absolute necessity stuff. And it was- Good news is, folks that are doing that kind of work are very busy.
Yes, they are.
Bad news is that it's very hard for them, obviously, to schedule and do other things, it's hard to get materials. and it's-
Yeah,
and it's
That's,
not
I've been dealing with that all spring and summer. I mean,
My car's, so my car died, and it ends up, it's a brand problem where the engine broke a lot after 5 or 6 years.
Oh, no.
And I was on the interstate when it happened.
Oh.
But then it took them, I took it to where I always take it, and just because they're short staffed, it took almost a week to get them to just plug it in to say that. Now, the engine did come in a timely manner, but it was no longer safe.
it's a good thing it wasn't anything electronic because that would be worse at this point in time.
It's like, I had oil in the car, not me.
The ladies in the office told me the salon supply store at one point, they have 1 employee and their hours are based on her schedule. The staff
Really?
talked to her and she says, I'm the only employee who get limited hours.
Yeah,
Salon styles.
Mm-hmm.
that's where,
Just right across on points.
as you can tell, not much.
That's the one that sells
So supplies, yeah, many supplies, so I mean,
But they have a
that's,
beauty shop in the back.
Yes,
More than others.
correct. That's a
talking
nice
about
way.
shortage of workers.
They have a hard time doing that. Shut down too.
And I think after everything that happened last year, a lot of people question whether or not that's a viable career option at this point in time, you know?
They just sell supplies.
We do have a beauty shop in the back there. Yeah, we do that. Salon.
Okay, well, it is 9:45, so I'll let whoever wants to start, go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you, Derek Sullivan, Director of Economic Development at Manhattan Area Chamber of Commerce, and joined by Janet Nichols this morning, so thank you for having us. I'm going to run through just a couple economic development updates on some programming. Most of the things we discussed in past monthly updates, we sort of kind of give you updates on where those programs are at. And Janet has been very, very busy recently with a number of military-related things and some great events. And And from rodeo to lunches to some federal initiatives that she's been working on. So she's going to spend a good chunk of our time updating on those. So first, just want to start off by saying thank you for attendance and engagement at the Regional Leaders Retreat a couple weeks ago. It was great to see the crowd there when we met in town. I think people enjoyed that and had a good conversation. And so just appreciate your involvement and participation there. And that's obviously noticed and much appreciated. I think it's important that we have elected officials. It's important that we have engaged community leaders. It's important that we have businesses represented, and we have a really strong cross section of that. And we're having a good conversation and already working on a number of things that came out of that, and anticipate some reporting there. And see if we get back onto the regular cycle when it comes to future events. And there's some planning going on with that, but we'll be back at that here relatively soon, within 6 months or so. So we're excited to move some of those initiatives forward. Speaking of that, a couple items that had come up that I wanted to note that we are working on right now and moving forward. And George Cant, our existing business manager, is taking the lead on these. One of them is a childcare task force. And so between providers and vested business owners in the community, as well as the folks that, and there's been conversations with folks in the county in the lead up and during the research component of this process. So whether we're looking at the regulatory certification side, the provider side, or the demand side, especially as it relates to workforce and maintaining and growing workforce in our community, that's something that in our business conditions report and with the 50 some odd business that George did last year was identified as a key need. In fact, it was really one of the primary workforce related needs in the community. So we're going to be tackling that and putting a group together. And it's not just putting a group together, it's doing all the foundational work ahead of time to ensure that we've got there's been studies done in surrounding communities. Janet has done a really nice job of gathering information from Fort Riley and connecting us to the appropriate people there to deal with the childcare side of things. So getting that group together. Also relaunching a workforce development committee. And heard loud and clear as we were just discussing during the break that talent and labor and workforce are incredibly important. And so there again, both a group of kind of the resource providers, whether they be public or private sector, so from Kansas Works to the folks at Fort Riley that make connections between transition soldiers and spouses and family members, to HR professionals and to vested business managers in the community and business owners in the community. So have a good diverse group there, and that is just recently kicked off as well. George continues his efforts on our business retention expansion program. So over we're just looking at some numbers here this last week, over the last year, since this time last year, he's visited whether in person or via Zoom. And these aren't just drop-in visits; these are scheduled with some specific questions and a survey or a questionnaire that gets filled out and some aggregation of data. He's visited with our businesses, and so that informed and really provided the data for that business conditions report that we shared with you. This year's efforts have been focused a little more on to smaller and medium-sized employers in the region, and so that's not just within Manhattan, but across the county and across our greater Manhattan region. And so we'll continue with those efforts and really have been happy with the direction that's on. He's doing a great job on that and really improves our outreach efforts. A couple other things to touch on from a workforce and talent standpoint. We did launch the Made for Manhattan initiative at the Leaders Retreat. So that's something we'll probably talk about more specifically at an upcoming meeting and dive a little deeper into that. But a resource for HR professionals and for companies that are hiring. That's something that if you do run across people that are in a hiring or recruitment process and there's something that they need assistance with, or they feel like they need resources to support that effort to help attract people to this area, to this region. It's all Made for Manhattan, but it is regional. The other counties or the other communities in the county are featured on the website and are identified on the maps and everything else. So that's something that we're always happy to share resources on. We are on the talent attraction and retention side of things. We're kicking off career fairs, internship fairs, veteran fairs, kind of try to go seasonally. So there's a spring season and a fall season. Fall season is kicked off. We started off with the K-State part-time career fair here 2 weeks ago. And Amber Wilhelm from our office, our talent strategist coordinator, is going to be heading out and doing a fair amount of work in person this fall at career fairs, internship fairs, veteran fairs across the 4 or 5 state area. And so just finalizing that schedule and putting together some resources for her to head out and promote job opportunities. Would encourage any employers in the region that have job opportunities that would be good fits for recent college graduates or looking for interns, whether that be during the school year interns or interns for next summer. We'd be happy to take those opportunities to promote them at other universities, colleges, community colleges, and then again with veterans at a number of different places. We're excited to kick back off the classroom career program again this fall. We had to put that on hold last year because of COVID, but this is a program where businesses are able to go in and sponsor a 4th grade class. And we're doing it across Manhattan Ogden School District, Rock Creek, as well as Owego, and also with the Catholic schools and Christians and the Christian schools. So we've got great coverage. They're really excited about doing it again, and that's a program we found is both beneficial to the businesses enjoy doing it, but there's been some studies done that show that that's kind of that 4th grade level about when kids start thinking about careers and what they realistically might do. And so it really opens up their eyes to the fact that, you might talk about a bank, but a bank doesn't just have bankers or financial analysts. It has people that fulfill a number of different roles. And so there's some great activities that go on within that program, and we're excited to be working with the folks in Owego and Potawatomi County, as well as our group here and a number of other partners at all the school districts to make that happen. And then we're also working on finalizing a jobs page where we'll be highlighting job opportunities from companies in the region, and doing that through our chamber website, which our website. We're excited to launch here in the relatively near future. We'll be sharing that with you as well. So, last thing I just wanted to say, we've had some good engagement with the Kansas Department of Commerce. They've been doing their business traction trips across the country and hosting site selectors and commercial real estate folks, everything else. We're engaging. Started that in July and continue hopefully over the course of the next couple of months if things remain open. I know that the scheduling on those is going forward, so that's a good thing for us to see that activity back up and going. And I can tell you that we're seeing some really strong prospects and potential companies that will host several different companies from outside the area here over the last few months. And it's an important part of what we do from an attraction standpoint is actually getting people here and showing them the community and sitting down with partners and talking about the path forward on developing a project. And it's very good to be able to do that in person. So with that, I would give some time here to update on the formatting and everything. But as always, thank you for your support, and I'm always available for questions or comments or otherwise. I'll really come to this. So appreciate it.
Thank you, Darren.
Good morning, commissioners. Thanks for having me today. A couple things to talk about. We had Military Family Appreciation Night at the Cobb Valley Rodeo on July 22nd. It was a really, really great event. Probably the best attended one I've had in a very long time. I know that we fundraise for 1,000 tickets and 1,000 adult tickets and 500 kids tickets, which you guys are, the county's a big part of that. And for the first time, 1,000 tickets were redeemed the first night of the rodeo. So I never hit 1,000. So I'm proud of that. So the tickets did what they're supposed to do. They got in the hands of everyone. We had some kids' tickets left over. I'm thinking of maybe adjusting the numbers a little bit, maybe buy some more adult tickets, and because the kids can get into the rodeo with a camp trip for free. So I'm thinking about that. But we had plenty of food. The tent was full the whole time. Families sometimes, there were always seats, but sometimes they have to ask people to move to get all together, so the tent was hopping, the band was great. They were a reserve band out of Michigan and Ohio. They started out with Johnny Cash, so they totally got the theme of the mood of the event. And one of their vocalists did the national anthem, and we had the Commanding General's Mounted Color Guard open up with the flags of the Color Guard, so that was awesome. So really successful, great event, and thank you for your support in that one. And the extension office is amazing to work with. I mean, really easy. Gary Fox, just the best. So anyway, also that same week was the first conference I'd been to in 18 months. It was Association of Defense Communities Reconnect. A lot of good information there. And the main themes, so the Association of Defense Communities is mainly communities that are outside the gate of military installations across the spectrum of, Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force. So, and it's a really interesting thing. So it comes from an installation point of view. And the main things they were talking about were budgeting and cost savings, the future of work, climate, and then diversity, equity, and inclusion. So those are the four main topics they covered. And the things that really stuck with me is, first of all, someone from the Office of the Local Defense Community Cooperation, OLDCC, they put out a lot of grants to communities, so they had a great overview. But the two big takeaways that I got were they're really into cost savings on installations of using excess rooms. So they're creating their own MSA, multiple listing service called the Real Property Space Availability Program. So if they have part of a building available, their end game is to have maybe even a business use part of that building. So that was pretty interesting. So they're trying to find cost savings there. The other really interesting thing was the federal government, non-uniform personnel, they expect that 50% of federal employees will be remote or in a hybrid work situation. And if the federal, and you could tell in Washington, D.C. that they were doing that. I was there on a Monday and a Tuesday and a Wednesday, and there was no cabs to be found outside of a hotel. The traffic was about a third of what it would have been on a regular weekday. So
That's actually a benefit there.
well, yeah, I mean, it is a benefit, but when you think of if the federal government's
Yeah.
doing that, then other people in places are going to do that, and that changes.
It's going to be trickling down pretty quick.
Yeah, so if that, and that, to save money, which is why they're creating this the multiple listing service, because they're not going to be using as much office space they already wanted to. So that's pretty interesting, I thought. Just so you know, an update on the airport runway expansion submission with DSIP. Friday, they were supposed to hear if we get invited to submit the actual grant proposal. One thing I did look on at the ADC Reconnect Conference is this year there were 70 submissions for the Defense Community Infrastructure Program. That's for an infrastructure program that's outside of the post that benefits inside the post. I've had multiple people tell me if our airport runway expansion project does not fill the bill for this, who knows what they're looking for. So hopefully, fingers crossed, but that's really good that there were only 70 submissions last year. They were nearly double, there were about 120.
Was that the only submission from the area?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that
I think last year there was two.
There was two, and we went back and forth on that a lot. They were very good. They were both good submissions. However, we really probably need to be focused on one. This is something where you want to put all your eggs in one basket. We've gotten, of course, we got the backing of General Sims, a really great letter, and also Senator Moran mentioned that he sent a letter in with a packet as well. So hopefully that's going. And then I was just going to talk about a couple of upcoming events. Our next Manhattan MRC lunch is the 1st of September at Hilton Garden Inn. I've got the Director of Family, Morale, Welfare, and Recreation talking. They've got a lot of wellness initiatives going on in Florida. I think he's going to talk mainly about that, but just about what they do, which is they're the Parks and Rec and child development of military installations. And then Fort Riley Day at K-State football is September 18th, best football game of the year, tons of fun. September 25th is Fort Riley Apple Day. If you're looking for your apple pies, I'm your person, and they'll deliver them to the chamber on September 24th, the day before Apple Day. So if you want an apple pie from me, they're $13 each. They benefit the Historical and Archaeological Society of Fort Riley. Tons of good works, and they're delicious. I get them every year. Great pies. I actually even helped make them some years. There you go. And then I've talked to each of you a little bit about AUSA annual meeting. I'm immediate in the planning for that. I appreciate your consideration. I would think that perhaps joining AUSA to support as a community partner would be a great thing for the county to do. I know you guys used to be a member, but we've got a nice contingent going. We have like 24 people from the area, from our side, and then more from about another 15 from Junction City. So we got a really nice contingent going this year. We're gonna hit Hill Visit, so I would hope, I sent you the invitation, Commissioner Ford, but if any of you are available to come, so we get the county's perspective on what you'd like us to discuss on our Hill Visits, we would love to accommodate you. And then Little Apple Brigade Ball is October 23rd, and I'm eating them in that too. A lot of planning goes on in the summer for the fall. If you have any questions, if there's anything more you'd like to discuss, I'm happy to, but that's a little bit of what I've been. Yes, sir.
Janet, could you send me the information on the AUSA
Yes.
membership and I can give it to the board?
Absolutely, and I'll get the dates and everything to you too. I didn't want to we didn't all need to come, but I just wanted, I'd love to get your perspective.
I did get the invitation. We did send it along. I have to send it through channels because I can't send it to them directly, but
Gotcha.
so I think that falls right in the middle of our October county employee day, so I know I need to be here for that. So.
Right, but we want to, since we're going on Hill Visits, we want to make
Sure.
sure that you guys' point of view is in on what we're bringing up.
Yeah.
So, so some of that legislative thing, I think it's up to September 16th, and that way it'll
And
be.
that falls in the middle of one of our board meetings.
Of
so,
course.
Yeah.
Well, I aim to please, right? Anyway.
We'll figure out a way to get those things across. We'll
Okay,
do it.
yeah, even if it's just a paper, that would be great. Okay, great, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have 30 more seconds.
Sure.
Allowable. I want to make sure I got the list right here because I didn't have it in front of me when I was up here, but we did hold last week our second annual business awards.
Yes.
And as Chambers of Commerce, our business organizations, it's really important for us to recognize businesses and particularly we have some great ones obviously here. Just wanted to highlight that Walker's 2 and Walmart were both recognized as new Legacy Circle members, which is 50 consecutive years of chamber membership. And then the annual awards were Entrepreneurial Spirit Award went to Weddle & Sons. The Tourism Development Award went to Wildwood Adventure Park. The Women and Minority Owned Business Award went to Loving Arms Daycare. And the Small Business of the Year Award went to Work Brothers. And then Manco Window Systems was recognized with the Cornerstone Award, which is a solid pillar of the community and recognizes their growth and involvement in the community, obviously over a number of decades. And so if you see any of those folks, please congratulate them and obviously all great businesses, all very involved in things in the community and in our region well beyond just the business piece. But we're really excited that had a great attendance to that event and it's always a fun time to be able to recognize some of our great area businesses.
Good deal. Thank you.
Yeah.
Julie is here.
Okay. Okay.
Morning, Julie.
Good morning.
Good motion, Commissioners.
We move. I don't have the actual motion in front of me here, sorry.
Move recess as Board of County Commissioners and we as the Board of Health.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second on the recess. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, go ahead, Julie.
Okay, I'm here with my monthly update. I'm going to start with our budget to actual, which Shelley has provided to you, along with explanations as to the highlighted areas, which is typical, either due to timing or COVID. So under our revenues, the Kansas Health Foundation, we do have two. Health Equity Grant has ended, but we do have a brand new grant. Those funds were all received in the prior year. CDRR due to timing of payments, family planning, timing of payments, and received were less than projected. IAP, COVID's caused some delays in those vaccinations. Our March 9 SPAN grant funds were received in a prior year, so it's timing, and then our Wildcat Region State Formula due to timing. Overall expenses, under budgeted, COVID expenses. For general, it's COVID. For emergency preparedness, it's COVID. And Smart Start, our ECBG, that's under everything Riley, that's due to timing of expenses. That grant year ended in June. Sorry about this formatting. I meant to change it over to PDF and then forgot to do that. So COVID update, we did put out numbers yesterday. We are staying steady with our numbers, about 15 to 20 cases per day. As of yesterday's report, we had 89 total new cases since last week. That brings us to 130 active cases currently. We have identified 100 variants of concern so far, with most being the Delta. We've had 94 breakthrough cases. Currently, we have 9 patients in the hospital, 5, I believe, in the ICU. Their ages are a little bit younger, 40 to 60, and I did not get whether they're all vaccinated or not. I received that information from the hospital. I will say our percent positive is slowly decreasing, which is good. Our 14-day average was 7.14%, so we're seeing that slowly come down. Our testing numbers were up as we saw about 269 tests performed last week just at the airport, mass testing events on Tuesday and Thursday, and the remote clinic that we had on Saturday. We had additional 68 tests from symptomatic individuals that we tested at the health department last week. We are performing all vaccinations at the health department, as you're aware, on Thursdays and Fridays. We also have a lot of upcoming events. We've already had 2 so far in August. We were at Everybody Counts last Saturday. We did 25 vaccinations. We only did 6 at the First Congregational Church on Sunday. So we'll try that again. We actually have them coming up on August 22nd. I didn't put it on here because we just decided that yesterday. But we're going to try that again on August 22nd. But as you can see, we have a lot of upcoming events. This weekend we'll be at the mall on Saturday from 1 to 5. We'll be at Little Apple Brewing Company on Sunday from 12:30 to 3:30. So at the mall we'll have the Pfizer vaccine, and at Little Apple Brewing Company we'll have Johnson & Johnson. The mall does have $15 gift cards to give away, and Little Apple Brewing Company has $50 gift cards to give away. So we'll be at Flint Hills Community Clinic on the 20th, Mount Zion Church on the 24th, Manhattan Arts Center on the 27th.
And we're at Florence again today, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I think if I got the total right, we're gonna have a total of 31
Yeah.
with both doses and another 22 today getting their first shot. About 20% of our workforce.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Really worthwhile.
we're really happy about that.
Yeah. Right, moving away from COVID, staff updates.
Please.
Yes. Always happy to do that. We still are searching for a public health nurse for our clinic. This is a full-time position. We actually have quite a few interviews coming up, so very hopeful for that. We had some more turnover with our contact tracing team, so we do have a full-time position available. We do have lots of applicants, so we are weeding through those, and we do have interviews coming up.
Is there any indication of is there going to be grant funding available for contact tracing
Yeah.
after the end of the year?
That was a question at the KDHU webinar
Uh-huh.
yesterday, and we didn't get a response from that. They still want to. So, yeah, that's one thing that we're wondering too. So, we also have a social worker position open with our MCH program. We've had 1 interview so far, but not a lot of applicants. So we've asked to boost that, so we hopefully are able to get some more applicants for that position. As far as program updates, I have quite a few things to share. So WIC is celebrating National Breastfeeding Month through the month of August. Kansas actually ranks 9th in the nation for infants exclusively breastfeeding to 6 months. This is due to the hard work of programs like WIC and NCH. They also continue to offer more money for fresh fruits and vegetables through September, and that's translated to more money in the local economy with over 100,000 WIC dollars spent in July. And they're continuing remote appointments through November as that waiver has been extended through November. Raising Riley has begun doing child assessments for the fall assessment window. These include ages and stages questionnaires and either the individual growth and developmental indicators for 3 to 5-year-olds or the early communication indicators for infants and toddlers. Renee and Teresa are visiting Raising Riley participating childcare providers to complete their grant required observations and assessments for the subsidies that we're able to provide families for childcare. The next round of Circle of Security parenting classes will begin on September 1st. And this is that 8-week course that's open to the community, and participation is limited to 10 families. We are going to update the story walk that we have along the trail of the health department. So we'll have a grand opening for that on Saturday, September 18th. Clinic has been busy doing back to school vaccinations. They had 40 kids come through the walk-in back to school clinic on Tuesday and Wednesday. They're also busy with other immunizations, consultations, COVID vaccinations, and immunizations for testing. Childcare licensing is currently investigating 7 regulatory complaints, and they just closed 3 last week. They have 3 illegal care complaints they're investigating as well. Good news is their initial applications keep coming in. They actually have 12 initial surveys requested currently, and that's spread out through the 5 counties that they survey. Fingerprinting's going well. Heather went to the Boys and Girls Club and Hope Lutheran last week and fingerprinted 30 staff members altogether. They also met with 3 different groups at RCPD. They really want to work on building a partnership with the police department, as well as educating them on what child care licensing does and what kind of assistance they might need from the police department. MCH is providing virtual learning opportunities for becoming a mom class, pumping 101, 4th trimester, screen-free parenting, and infant massage. The KSU counseling program is going along very smooth, and they're able to offer free therapy sessions with the student interns that we have, and they're pretty busy. And that is for all our CHD clients. And again, we're looking for that full-time social worker within their program, so continue that search. That is all I have. Questions?
Busy time of the year with school starting, and
Yeah.
yeah.
It is.
Did you have hospitalization numbers this morning going back to COVID?
Yeah, well, from yesterday, we
Yeah.
had 9.
Okay.
So, oh yes, I have from Bob, total hospitalizations in the state.
Yeah,
Yeah. So according to Bob, running 7-day average is now 87 new COVID admissions per day in Kansas, whereas about a week ago, we were at 65 admissions. When I look back at the graph, it looked like the last time we were there was back in January. Last time we were that high for admissions, so.
Are we still staying in that same respective set of age groups? 18 to 45 or whatever,
For the,
for hospitalization?
Yeah. yeah, the 9 that we have in right now, it's 40 through 60, their age.
Okay.
So.
Kind of shifting back to that, okay.
Yeah.
Did you have any breakthrough numbers?
Yes, so far, we've had 94 breakthrough cases.
And that's 4 total since.
Yes. Yeah.
Any idea on the severity of those breakthrough cases?
Very mild.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of them are Delta variant and very mild, so it shows some protection with the vaccine.
I think that proves that the vaccine's working, so that actually.
Yes. Absolutely.
Is there any projection on how long the vaccinations are good for? I've heard 6 months
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. Have you heard anything like that? Or
There's been some news come out about, needing a booster at 1 year.
Okay.
We've had some individuals show up or call the health department wanting their 3rd vaccine, but we can't get that yet. It's approved, so, but that's all.
So for those
Yeah.
particularly frontline health and first responders and stuff that got that early, should we be starting to focus on whether or not we need to do that, at least for them,
Yeah,
moving
absolutely.
forward?
Because, we started back in December,
Right.
so that's,
Getting pretty close to that.
yeah. Wish we had a definite answer.
Yeah,
So we can be prepared.
me too. One other question that was asked to me and I couldn't answer is, have we had to basically waste any of our vaccinations through this process? I didn't think we really have, but.
Unfortunately, we have, not much, but there's been, with some of our bigger clinics at the end of the day, when we just couldn't, get people to come get a vaccine, if we had some doses left, we unfortunately had to waste some, but we went to great lengths not to waste any. We had some of our nurses, we put down at Seco Park trying to get people up to come get a vaccine, but unfortunately, we have had to waste some.
Okay. That's too bad. Okay. That's all I've got. Anybody else? Nothing? Okay.
Okay,
Thank you, Julie.
Thanks, Julie. Have a good weekend.
Thank you too.
I'll go ahead and make the motion return since I don't have it.
Move to recess as the Board of Health and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners.
I would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on recess. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Next commissioners, we have Tammy Robinson at 10:30.
Okay.
Is Florence requiring vaccinations?
We're under a national label, national manufacturing permit in New York. So if there was to be a mandate, my guess is it would come there. And we just unilaterally do it ourselves. But almost 20% of our workforce is getting it both shifts through this. And I don't know how many, like myself, have gotten it outside. I'm guessing I'm gonna follow up with our staff for next week after we get this done. Of course, we'll have to have another clinic to get
Sure.
the second part of this, but my guess is we're probably floating probably somewhere around, I'm gonna say 50%.
Yeah, that's good.
We've been doing temperature checks up the door since the beginning of last April. And masks have been required since the end of last August, almost a year.
So it's still,
Yeah. So, well, for the most part. They give a couple exceptions, like to myself, because I'm usually working by myself, but when I get into a crowd of people, I follow the rules. So.
So they started like. It was.
Any good movies, Sam?
Suicide Squad.
What?
The Suicide Squad.
I just saw that.
I saw that twice. I live in New York.
I'm not much on those kind of movies. Yeah, my daughter and her boyfriend love it, but my wife and I just aren't too much on those kind.
I think it's a generational thing.
Yeah, I mean, when they chop off the top of his head and one part goes one way, or they chop the body, I'm just not into too much of that.
I like the 1500s.
It's all sci-fi, guys head blowing up,
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's
No, that's not for me either.
It is a generational thing, because I tell you, the young people my wife and I've never been into like those kind of movies.
No, I haven't.
We like action, but not, realistic action. Not.
My favorite part's part of that. Character stuff. And the comedy. That was my favorite.
I was like, oh, yeah, we just watched it last weekend, and I was just shaking my head all the way through it.
The reality shows.
Yeah, I don't watch those neither.
That's the generation.
The thing is, they're not reality, they're all
No.
staged.
Staged,
It's one thing if they were reality, but it's so staged.
There's one that was incarcerated. What's the name of it? The low after lockup or something crazy. It does this whole thing.
Yeah.
And then there's another one. 90 Day Fiance.
Uh-huh.
They go all over the
Oh, I
country and
know.
they get paid all over the world. And these people get married in their one country or another, and then they have fights online. It's just like, I sit through it, but it's in a hole. What's the Russia trigger? Well, what would you like to have? Something regular. Whatever that is, there isn't a lot of that.
No, there's not. I got so many channels and there's nothing to watch,
I would watch HGTV and.
Yeah.
Or the old
That's not
house.
as good as anything.
Oh, the old house one, that's good on PBS. They do all these old house renovations, that's good.
Yes, I saw the Green Knight yesterday. They used to be interesting.
Green Knight?
Yeah. It's,
Another one like that?
no, it's based off of King Arthur legend. It's very art house.
Gotcha.
So I think they're done with the resealing then? Out here?
Yeah, I hear they are.
Paint job looks really good on the back of your building.
Looks a lot better, doesn't it?
Looks good, yeah.
Except for one spot.
Which place?
Spot on the very, very end over here they can't get to apparently because of an electrical line.
Oh, I wasn't that particular looking at it.
Yeah.
In general, I look so good.
It does. It really does. Fantastic job.
Some- I wish they'd take those stars, accent those somehow, you know, like there's a dark blue.
Oh, over
The
the,
little golden
Yeah.
stars here, you know, they're like.
maybe painted brick red or something maybe.
Yeah, something.
Morning, how are you?
I'm okay.
Come on, Sammy.
Good. I guess overall, for as long as it took from start to finish on that, it's kind of blessings.
A lot of work. It was in bad shape.
Oh, it was. Yeah, it was.
And resealed all the windows, which were
Yeah.
horrible.
Morning.
Full slate today.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's been a while.
So they have budget.
Rest of the year, other than some public hearings.
So that's the.
Formality. That's the new process as just another formality. It just,
That's what it is. Did you do the school board meeting? How'd that go?
It's only an hour.
Really? Okay.
I think.
Oh, they didn't have public comment last night. That's right. That's right. Okay.
Essentially, each one of them just talked and then they voted. And that's it.
When do they open?
Week from yesterday.
Okay. That was a little early this year.
that's about normal, really. Ours is just late.
I guess it's been so
Greg
long
said
since I've
because
been
of
to school, I
construction.
don't remember anymore.
Looks like it's done.
I was just looking at the calendar. I started high school 30 years ago.
Yeah, I'd like to. They're gonna have,
I said, oh,
Yeah, I know.
October 9th, they're having an open house over at Fall Fest, right at Fall Fest.
See if I can't get a private tour.
Might be able to get in there.
Know someone that has keys.
I think they start on
That's what Jan
the
was saying, she was, because we're gonna be gone that weekend. So
Uh-huh.
she said.
24th or 25th.
Yeah.
I remember when I started, it was like a week of school and then we had Labor Day.
Yeah.
It was like, why didn't we just start after that?
I think everybody's kind of pushing it back a little bit more just in case, give themselves some extra leeway if something happens and they have to end a little bit earlier.
In Missouri, they still have theirs.
I don't know.
They weren't allowed to start until after Labor Day. For, it was up vacation.
That was a big thing last year. They kept pushing it back. Schools did last year.
Yeah. I think they started super early last year.
Well, no, a lot of them waited till after Labor Day and the heat of everything that's going on, even the local ones, hoping that it would subside, you know, and it never did.
No.
Several years ago, Missouri passed a lot of things. The schools couldn't open one for one of them to keep tourism going through the summer.
It's Missouri. Other than Branson, what do you got?
Those are. There's a lot of places.
I'm just waiting for some more comments.
They're churning, but I'm just wondering if I should or not. Now, St. Louis is a fine, fine city.
They should have top of some lists.
Not usually good ones, but yeah. Used to drive through St. Louis once a year coming to and from Kentucky for Thanksgiving. It seems like they've been working on that stretch of I-64 there for like a decade.
Actually, I haven't been like that. It's been almost been over here. Just that Thanksgiving since we you hear things last Thanksgiving.
Kansas City, 35 or 6, where it's going back from the way to down. That's permanent construction.
Oh, 435, yeah.
Yeah. All these things, yeah, it's-
Now they're working on all the frontage accesses. Then when those get done, then they'll probably restart on the actual road again.
And we'll start all over.
Oh, we need an extra lane now. Let's tear it up for 3 years.
Those are 5 on the south.
Yeah.
Side of Oak Park. It's got so many lanes. Trying to figure out which one to get your exit.
Yeah, me, I usually, if I know I'm going to, north side of there, I kind of stay in one of those lanes. If I'm gonna be going south, I stay in one of those other lanes, so it's a quick shift over if I need to. Some of those have 3 lanes going into an exit. It's like, holy cow. I mean,
Which one do you take?
right.
Well, and the navigation doesn't tell you what to do.
My co-pilot usually tells me where my exit is when it's about a 90-degree turn.
Yeah.
Go to the next one.
Come back around.
Drives me nuts.
I haven't been there for a long time.
Saw some pictures from the inside of the community house over there.
Well-
With that. I don't know if they have anything rented or ready to be used yet, but
Yeah, it's really, I haven't seen the finished product, but.
looks like they were finishing the other day, putting the final front entryway in there, front.
They're doing something with the
Store.
lamp posts too the other day. It's got some offices downstairs too. Did they show that where people?
Looked like it was more like some kind of community type of space. or
Yeah, it
something.
is
Had
like you can
TV.
rent out an office space and there's a
That's what it is,
community.
office share type
Yeah,
stuff.
office share and there's a shared conference room
Yeah.
and like a gathering
Mhm.
area.
Yeah,
So
Kind of like a commons area, I guess
Yeah.
is what they call it. Yeah.
they're gonna rent those fairly inexpensive, $500-600 a month or something.
Serious?
Something, I think that's what he was telling me. That was months ago. It's probably gone up by now.
Well, I'm not gonna go up too much more than that. So.
We're like 6 or
Okay, Tammy.
something.
6, 7, that's not too bad for them.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Tammy Robinson, Budget and Finance Officer.
I want to start out before we go into the cash flows with some very exciting news. As you know, we're working on a bond refinance, and with that bond refinance, part of the process is to have an updated bond rating from from Moody's. So we had that call, and they have since then put out our new rating, and we have been upgraded to an AA1 from an AA2, which is awesome. So on Monday, I will be back on Monday, the 16th, at the press conference to read their press release that they put out. But just wanted you to know that that AA1 is a great accomplishment for the county.
Mm-hmm. Will really help with some things down the road.
It was very good news. We've been stuck at that AA2 for decades now, and it wasn't because of Riley County's debt, but the overall region's debt was always kind of a knock, because taxpayers can only handle so much debt overall in a community. So it was a pleasant surprise.
So that helps with interest rates, correct?
It helps with your bidders. So I mean, your interest rates are going to be set by the market. We can't really, there's not a huge fluctuation, but it will help with our bidders, which will give us the best possible interest rate.
Okay.
In that process, I don't know, Tammy, if you had said something to him before, but that was an interview process that Tammy and I participated in with Greg Varenberg, the financial advisor that was here and presented information to you with 2 members from Moody's. And so.
And then, so just to follow that a little bit, as a reminder, August 19th will be our bond sell to refinance those. So Greg Varenberg will be taking bids in his office and will be keeping us updated. And then I believe it's at 10:50, he's scheduled to come present his recommendation on the bids. Then basically after that, it will take us about the last 10 days of the month to finalize everything and close all that out and reissue the new bonds. So that's just kind of what the process will be going forward.
Many different people and prior commissioners and a group of people to get to this point. So thanks to them as well.
And then we're working on Fairmont, which Craig will be here after this presentation, and we'll have that bond resolution. And then same time process, we expect to have it done at the end of the month to be closing out on those. So we're gonna have lots of paperwork to be signing. Apologize for that, but in the end, it's a good thing.
No stamp.
So with that,
Get that done before I'm done here, I promise.
Not on those documents. We won't. We had a chairman that tried.
we'll go into the July cash flow analysis. So we'll start with CIP. You can see we're at 58.33% into the year. For the month of July, we took in $4,138 in revenue. Of that, $34.10 was fair booth rental, and then the remaining was radio and investment interest. We spent $120,206 for the month of July, which for the year puts us at $1,243,920. You can see that totals 13.71% of our budget down here on the left, the right-hand side. And then on the left-hand side, you can see the cash reconciliation box, which brings you to ending unencumbered cash at 8.1 million. Of that, do keep in mind, we have projects still approved at almost 2.8 million, and we have reserves which are reflected in that box right below that. If you take those two components out, our unreserved cash is 3.6 million. The next page just gives you the detail of what was approved, what's previously been spent, what's been spent in this year, and what's either remaining, or to the far right, you see the completed projects over or under estimate. The ones in blue are the ones that have been completed. And then finally, the capital improvements graph is there to show the depiction of what we've spent year to date in comparison to the budget. Are there any questions on CIP?
Questions, anybody?
The next one we have is the building cash flow analysis. And you can see for the month of July, we've spent $35,118. The total for the year is $157,339. Down here, you can see that equates to 40.04% of our budget. And in the cash reconciliation box on the left, you can see our ending unencumbered cash based on that information is $219,922. The next page is just the depiction of what we spent year to date in comparison to the budget. Is there any questions? The next one is economic development. You can see our second half of appropriations were paid out in July. So that equated to $34,012. The total for the year is $287,358. That gives you 71.6% of the budget having been spent as of the end of July. And on the left, you can see the cash reconciliation box, which reflects ending unencumbered cash of $164,476. The estimated project balance would be if you spent every dollar that you had budgeted. That's what would remain. The next page is just the detail of the projects that we've spent money on. And what was approved, what's been spent prior, what's been spent year to date, and if any have been closed out. You can see that K-18 grant contribution. Final payment was made already this year, so we will not see that again in the future. And finally, just the graphic depiction again of what we spent year to date in comparison to the budget. Are there any questions on economic development? The last one is the sales tax cash flow. You can see for July, we received in $176,958 in sales tax revenue. We spent $666 in July with a total of $100,026 for the year. That equates to 2.32% of our expenditures. Our expenditure budget. And the ending unencumbered cash is $5.5 million. We do still have projections of what we'll spend in projects at this point for the year. And I'm also projecting out the revenue based on our budget, which shows the $326,640 if we were just to hit targeted budget for sales tax. If you take those two factors into consideration, it reflects $5.3 million at the end of the year. Again, the detail of the projects that have been approved in sales tax, what's been spent previously, prior year, year to date, what's remaining, or what has been either over or under the approved estimates. The blue ones are the ones that have been completed. And then just a quick snapshot to show you where we are in comparison of what we spent to the budget. Is there any questions on any of the cash flows? The only other thing I have is just to let you know that the budget has come back and it will be ready to be presented. I can bring it back at any time. I think we have it scheduled the week of September 9th is a Thursday, I believe. So I believe it's scheduled for that Monday.
6th.
Yeah.
No, that's Labor Day.
Okay, so then it has to be the Thursday before that we have it scheduled.
Okay, so that would be the 2nd.
Yep.
Okay.
So we will have that and then we'll be able to get that published and be prepared for our public hearings.
Okay.
Are there any questions or concerns or anything else to discuss?
No, all good this morning, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all I have for you.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Tammy.
Thank you, Tammy. Next, commissioners, we have Craig Cox at 10:50.
Okay.
So you gonna share those brownies, or you gonna take them all home?
I'm taking them all. Did you even need to ask?
So you could really change the.
There was a- yeah,
That's exactly it. That's my motivation. Eat brownies, go to the gym.
You heard the son, two commissioners contributed to the 4-H thing, and just a little thank you, brought them a picture and a packet and a ribbon, actually, they both got a ribbon.
Yeah.
They want a ribbon, so.
I didn't know about that, so. I wouldn't-
Check with the extension department, then you get you on the list for that. Yeah, Brenda did too, but I donated last year too, so. No, have at it, Brenda, so I'll have one.
We got a break.
Yeah, we did.
Anybody else? Sam, help yourself. The more everybody else eats, the less I have to later.
You have to.
I have to.
Yeah.
Somebody will twist my arm.
We'll get the kids back.
I gotta work,
Oh, what's your word?
6 a.m. But I'm getting, I think, I've got a listening session for a university president.
Really good.
Next week. Okay,
Yep. Oh, have plenty.
sounds good.
Lots of squash. Are they good? You said too much sugar.
They're
Somebody
good.
decided to give in.
Yeah. I've had so much sugar this week. I'm just, it's the thing. Every once in a while I go into a sugar craving.
If your eye appointment coming up, you need some stress relief, so.
Oh, yeah.
Every once in a while,
I don't know what
I have a
that's
sugar.
gonna It's not a long process, but could be that might make me lay face down for a week.
With your eye, it's just an annoying
Oh,
thing,
that's
you know?
My
Just
sister
grates on
had
it.
to do that.
Yeah.
With her chin surgery.
But they won't know till after the surgery. I said, I live alone. I'm gonna have to make some accommodations here. Can't you tell me?
Is your cat very good at taking care of you?
Yeah. The dog is more work.
I think it was interesting too, commissioners, in that Moody's report, they mentioned some other local public entities and institutions here in Riley County. And of all of them, we do have the highest rating.
Maybe that's Tabs. No, I saw when you, uh-oh. Tripping, I can get.
Just get it all printed.
We're not talking for a while.
That's for all of us or one?
Mainly just chair.
Oh, good.
And the
We
thing
need
is,
more brownies.
there's one document where the chair signed once, where I signed 3 times, so don't feel too bad for the chair. But I get
Well,
$10.
don't feel too bad.
I get $10 per signature, so it's okay.
Where do you sign up for that?
Wait a minute. Where's my share of this at?
Oh, you don't remember that resolution you passed?
No. In fact, I don't think it exists.
You better watch his budget more closely.
No, yeah. I'm gonna have to start taking $5 per signature out and see people running total.
Oh,
yeah. We're joking.
I know. Yeah, we thought you would only have 6, but the counselor's office said that they needed a copy too, and the clerk needs a copy, so now you have 8 copies instead of 6.
Send the bill to them.
There's all the free pictures.
Those are mostly rich and just the.
Yeah, there's just all these spikes there where they made it off of the switches.
Yeah.
That makes no sense to me on that one form. It's been that way since I started. One form, and I have to sign it 3 places. Why not just put it all in one section and just sign it once?
Once again, government. Brownie? Long live the day when you can't get rid of brownies.
They are, that is a good brownie.
They are.
I got an excuse, I'm fasting for some lab work.
So, I had to do that
Believe
a week and a half ago. So.
I gotta do that.
But you can take one now and eat it afterwards.
Oh, no, I couldn't. I could do the first part.
Can't get rid of brownies. What's coming? What's this world coming to?
I don't know.
Sign of the.
There's more for us though.
More for you. Like I said, I have to wear this off at the gym.
You. Going to the gym later.
I'm good at one.
Because of work, I missed the gym the last 2 days. So I really have to get in there today. It's a requirement.
Jim today, but finished the last floor. We haven't done, so now I've got to move everything back.
At least you're inside though.
Yeah.
You imagine being outside today?
Yeah, no, yeah, but
I need to cut the grass. It's not happening for a while.
My answer to grass, as Rich will point out, is goats.
Yeah.
Got a good goat, you don't need to mow your
Well, I
grass.
know. I don't think that's.
Probably
gonna
won't have any grass.
Or trim your shrubs or anything else, because none of it will exist anymore.
Yeah, so.
Sheep might work too. I mean, they eat everything. Yeah, the chickens will work in the city, but I don't know.
Oh, that's what folks next door at the church started at 7 o'clock.
Sure we have enough time to sign all this? Do you think maybe we need to do this at a later time?
Never.
You won't let me do a stamp.
They're not allowed.
I don't know.
Right, it's not allowed.
It's unreal. It's
Well,
ridiculous.
after the small business loans last year, nothing really touched that, so.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous. Oh, you don't think just top that after you get done? This is ridiculous.
Church. Somebody down in the-
Is it legal to pay somebody to forge your signature?
Legal, no.
Well, after I went to the fair.
When you mention terms forged, no.
Directly went to the neighbors and don't get any.
Yeah.
See, all the more reason to use a stamp.
I don't care about chicken. There's plenty of coyotes.
I mean, we got a live stream. It's gonna show that I'm the one doing it.
You've been working out.
I just thought we'd give up on it.
I don't think that'll pass legal. Legally.
What was the point in signing the document for the stamp if I never get to use it?
You used it authorizing that $10 for me.
And you can use it to understand.
Nancy, after today's meeting, we need to discuss a new resolution on a couple of topics. Sure. Always talking.
Is that it right there? That's your stamp.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, rub it in.
just the seal,
Go
just the
ahead.
seal.
Rub it in. Yeah, rub it
I
in.
got sign and seal. I should probably get another 5 for the seal on there.
By consensus, we vote no. By consensus, I mean me.
I'm looking forward to the weather change.
Yeah.
82 and
Yeah.
60s in the morning.
Supposedly.
I'm hoping.
Hopefully it doesn't rain on top of all that.
It is supposed to rain tonight and tomorrow.
Mhm. There's about a 45% chance.
It don't look like we have a real good chance of getting that.
Well, I would say it's not gonna rain.
Right. Yeah, those last 2 storms we got, we weren't supposed to get. It's like,
Wasn't anywhere.
so that means since we're supposed to get a little chance, we'll probably get a daily.
Yeah.
At Tuesday mornings, like I said, I woke up and heard a couple rumbles and I thought, is that Fort Riley? It's too loud to be Fort Riley. And looked outside, saw a couple flashes, like, oh, looked at the radar, I was like, whoa. It was about 3 minutes maybe later, then the hail came. It's like, whoa.
I didn't get any hail. but cooled off for a while.
I don't think it got quite as warm as it was supposed to Tuesday, because it stayed pretty overcast. For
Yeah,
most of the
Tuesday it
morning.
did not. That was surprising.
Yeah, it stayed overcast for a good majority of the morning, so I never got a chance to warm up.
Yeah, that was a pleasant surprise.
One of these years, we're due for a heavy winter.
We had some cold last year. We didn't get the snow. We had some.
I'm talking the latter, yeah. Wouldn't be so surprised to see if we get more cold this year.
Snow, but that freezing temperature.
Yeah, that was brutal there a couple weeks.
Okay, Craig, it is 10:50. Let's talk about Fairmont Heights.
Good morning, Commissioners. You have the big job this morning, not me.
That's not going to help, Craig.
Eat another brown.
That's not going to help either.
Well, it's not his fault. How about that?
I got to blame somebody here. Come on.
Yeah, that's
okay. We'll blame USDA.
Okay. What you have before you is the bond resolution for the Fairmont Heights project, and it just needs to be approved this morning. If you want to talk money details, I will defer to Cammie. I was mostly involved with getting the documents here this morning, and I don't know much about what's actually in the document. You got any questions?
Apparently not, because
I need to talk about the money part of it. She really can. I mean, I will say this: the original loan amount was $319,000. We had one Fairmont Heights property owner pay early, and the assessment was $12,269.23. So that comes out of the $319,000, and so the actual loan amount is that much less that we're working on, and that also that early payment affected the amortization schedule too, and so that was the big rush we got done just yesterday from last night, because the last time it paid was 5 o'clock yesterday. So Mary Carson's office was scrambling, but they have it down to a good system to make all those changes and to get us the documents this morning.
Yeah, that was my question, because it was highlighted on our forms here, the amount that had been paid. The amount that had been paid up front was in a highlighted section here.
Right. And really, if you look at these copies, that highlight's still there. We just got the replacement bond language at 10:15. So sign the signature pages and we'll interchange the parts to make it a complete finalized document. And we usually get three original copies, and Mary Carson's office needs 5. So there's 8 copies you'll be signing off on this morning.
Oh, I see what you're doing. You're trying to push off the blame on somebody else.
I only take responsibility for 3, so.
So don't get mad till you hit that 4th one.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay.
Paperless society.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Never.
Somewhere, someplace, there's a forest weeping right now. So I guess this pretty much finalizes about 4+ years worth of work then, ultimately.
It finalizes what?
4+ years worth of work.
Yeah.
It was at least we start in 17.
Yeah.
It says it.
Didn't actually start then, but the district was formed and approved.
In 17, yeah. So.
Okay, well, we need a motion, right?
Move the board to adopt resolution 08-08-1221 for the Fairmont Heights benefit district.
Would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on final resolution. Whatever that number was, it just disappeared on me there. The Fairmont Heights sewer benefit district. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I guess I'll spend the next 15 minutes signing.
This one here, this group here is for all three of you to sign. It's all the resolutions. And we can make the process.
This is for all of us, or?
Yep, all three of you sign that one.
Okay.
Chris Main sign.
All those for you to
This
sign.
is for the chair and myself.
You gotta spread the contract for all these stickies.
Yeah.
You sure lined them up? Okay.
Yeah, it's tough to find them all, that's for sure. Guarantee you, signature won't end up looking like it started. Catherine, was it you or Greg that made that motion?
Great.
Get all that. Let me know.
How long does that take? 3 minutes? 4 minutes? Got a long way to go. I wonder if anybody ever reads all this.
Oh, yeah.
Did you read all this, Craig? Did you read this entire document?
No, I did not.
I didn't think so.
Non-council responsible, that's Mary Carson, so
Okay.
if she tells me it's good, I don't read it. I'm just being honest with you.
Okay.
we'll say the document approved by both Mary Carson and Austin Masters of USDA.
You can say it, Rich, but that one's all on USDA was the last one.
Oh, yeah, a lot of these are. A lot of these are.
You might have to take them home.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt.
That was on the list.
Walk around a little bit.
Yeah, take a deep breath.
There's some.
Okay.
One right here.
There, yeah, thank you.
Who said being a county commissioner isn't glamorous?
Nobody. Exactly.
I never remember having that conversation.
Exactly what I was thinking.
I have to go to my second I voted picture before it's all said and done. Me right now.
Yeah, I ran through one pen.
I never got one of those.
There was holes.
Hmm?
There were holes.
I know that they didn't give them, you know, different people say, oh, I got one. They gave me one. Oh. Have to come to your office and get one.
Yeah, stop by, we have plenty.
It's a little overused there.
Stop by, we have plenty.
Uh-huh.
They are rather good writing pens.
That's what I've heard. Well, my friend who I took voting here for the first time, she got a pen and I did. So I should have gotten two.
It's like voting, one vote, only one pen.
This is Chicago style. Often.
And often.
Keyboard on that one.
It's time for Greg.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Yeah, thank you, Craig. You can go ahead and start whenever you'd like, Greg.
All right. Okay, there we go. Just tend to take up a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
USDA.
Okay, I'll start off by talking about income and expense surveys. Some of you may be familiar, some not, but every year we mail surveys out to all of our commercial property owners. And when I say income, I'm not referring to the business income. We're talking about the real estate income. So in our community, we do have a lot of properties, retail, office, warehouse, mini storage, that receive income based on leases. So that's an important part of kind of the valuation process for any appraiser on the private side or the public side, as we do an income approach or development income approach. So what we're trying to do is determine what the market rates are now for all those property types. Apartments is obviously another big one, but also just as importantly, what the expenses look like. Because we see sometimes spikes in rates for property insurance. Sometimes the cost of repairs and maintenance goes up because it's gone up here in our local market, in the community, those kinds of things. So, the response that we get from those property managers, those property owners is very, very important to us. And that's our purpose. We're not trying to put a value on folks' businesses, and we try to stress that every year and reassure people that that's not the case. But once we do get those, and that those are mailed August 1st, or August 2nd, I guess. Then we actually go door to door to our apartment buildings, not the rental houses, but those buildings were built to be apartments, 12 plexes, 6 plexes, 24 plexes, et cetera. And we talk to tenants, we talk to managers, property owners if they're there, and supplement the information that we receive via the surveys. So we have a team of 2 or 3 that typically go out 3 to 4 days a week during that 3-week period. And we knock on doors and we talk to people, and we're asking, if you're willing to tell us, what can you tell us about your rents? Do you know what the occupancy in your building might be? All those kinds of things, because it's very, very relevant questions for us to be able to put a value on those kind of properties. One of our residential appraiser positions will be open actually as of next week. Unfortunately for us, it's a gain for another county agency, but a big, big loss for us. And he's done a great job for us for several years. It'll be a hard position to fill. Obviously, his area, we have area assignments for residential appraisers, is kind of the northwest part of Manhattan, and some tougher, more complicated houses and properties. So I'll probably
A lot of new construction.
a lot of new construction, yeah, there, and also in the southwest, which is Joetta's area, are where the bulk of our new construction and building permits are for residential. So I'll probably reallocate those parcels to somebody else in the office, and then try to hire somebody in at some point to fill the vacant position with a different assignment, maybe a little easier area to work with. So at some point I'll be coming to you asking to be able to refill that position. I would not anticipate that for a few months. This is a really, really bad time of year for us to train a new person, as we're really working hard to try to meet that annual review requirement. Remember, we have to physically review 1/6 of our properties every year. So we're we're really pushing to do that. We've got a lot of building permits to work yet, a lot of new construction work. And, with a loss of disposition, they'll make that time frame tighter. So rather than try to bring someone in and not really be able to train them adequately, we'll wait a few months, and I'll talk to you about that later on. It also obviously saves county taxpayer dollars in the interim, and I think that's important too. So, but we'll come back to you when that time comes up. We've completed our commercial land analysis and also the neighborhood analysis for all our commercial properties. And what that really means is we're just determining what commercial land has been selling for by area, by zoning. That's something we also take into consideration. So, for example, in the city of Manhattan, the zoning is different 4 blocks east of campus than it is 5 blocks east of campus, and the sale prices are different. So when we put values on apartment buildings, we take that into consideration. Multifamily has a different value than R3 or R2, and we run into the same issues on some of our industrial and commercial zonings. So Steve, very diligent, works very hard at that and has wrapped that up. And we group those by neighborhood. And in the case of commercial, a lot of times it's kind of by the zoning areas, because in our market that has relevance. So we're done with that. We're right on schedule for what we will do for the rest of the year in our studies and analysis. He'll be jumping into commercial depreciation next week, actually. And then when we start getting surveys back, he'll be working on, he and I work on the income approach for commercial properties. We'll also wrap up the residential land analysis and neighborhood analysis here probably yet this week. We were thinking maybe next week, but I think Alan's very close to wrapping that up this week. And that will be a little bit ahead of schedule, which we're kind of being down a bit. We participated in a damage assessment kind of update with the city code office last week. And if you might remember, we got together 2 years ago with their folks and came up with a game plan to kind of share our time and resources. So, and it also involves using tablets in the field for the first time for damage assessment. So now, unfortunately, when we have floods, tornadoes, those kinds of things, we're going to the field with a team of 2 appraisers and 1 city staff. And we have a program that's been downloaded onto our tablets that allows us to put the data into it. And as soon as we get back to our office, it takes less than 5 minutes to upload it. We can send the reports to emergency management, to the governor's office. Our PIO can make that available to media, all those kinds of things. And that's been about a 2-day process before the use of the tablets. So we feel that's a big benefit. And rather than having the city office go out and look at a property and then us come back at a later time when folks are trying to clean up their properties and do those kinds of things, we can go out there together, get out of their way, and get the information as quickly as we can. So that's been good. There have been some changes in the program, and we also learned from our last time that there were a couple of things that we wanted to do slightly differently to make it more efficient. And so we put that into play, got some good feedback from the teams, both from my office and the city. And we want to try to do that every year if we can. Have a 2-hour run through, make sure that we're all on the same page. They're typically, being the city is typically looking at their function being determining whether the house or building can be occupied or not. So they go out there with that focus. They put labels on the doors for those kinds of things to, whatever the status is. And we're looking at the property to determine what the extent of damage is compared to value. Is it 60% damaged? Is it 20%, et cetera? So that's what our team is there for. And my team, in the case of a 3-person team, 2 people are working together. One's telling the person with the laptop what to input, and we can be in and out of a property in 5 to 10 minutes pretty quickly and move on. So we think it's been a big, big help, and we'll continue to, practice that and work on that. I think you're all aware that Board of Tax Appeals, or BOTA, granted our request for reconsideration of the earlier 2018 Home Depot case. That was very much a change in their direction in the last 3 or 4 years. And of course, we have 2 new board members on it. And we feel Mike Montoya, the attorney that we use in these kind of cases, feel like that's an indication that at the very least they have some serious questions about the original ruling. And in another surprise, rather than have the 2 attorneys file briefs, they're going to have each attorney have up to 4 hours each to do oral arguments. So, yeah.
Long day.
Mr. Montoya is well prepared for that. He'll make good use of the time.
Yeah, it leads me to believe they have some serious questions.
Yeah, it's very, I'm talking to my peers. Of course, we have what we call the large county group, phone call, now Zoom every other month. And everyone was very surprised. None of us in our careers, and there's some folks who have been in the business as long as I have, remember BOTA ever doing that before. Usually if they do grant reconsideration, it's by filing briefs. So this is a kind of a precedent, and we feel kind of cautiously optimistic that there's going to be a change in the original ruling. So
How this case goes will be really how these particular cases in general, wherever they end up going, because if they reverse track on this one, I think you're going to see less and less of these appeals.
yeah, it would be a reversal of those past precedents that have been set statewide for sure. And of course, remember, if, let's say, the county's value is upheld, if the other side wanted, the next step in the process would be the Court of Appeals. And all the Court of Appeals can do is look at the case and determine whether the evidence presented could have led to the conclusion that BOTA made. And we're very confident that, they're not picking a side. So we're very confident that if the other side were to do that, they would uphold whatever BOTA's ruling would be in this reconsideration request. So puts us in a lot different and better position than we've been in for a long time. And so we're kind of excited about that. August 26th is when that will be in Topeka. I've had a lot of my peers in IAAO have reached out to me. Word's gotten around through some press releases. But anyway, there are people in Michigan that are excited about the outcome of this case just as much as we are here in Raleigh County, as it really would be setting a kind of new precedent, potentially. Knock on wood, cross my fingers, legs, toes, and everything else. So we'll see how that goes.
Greg, when did this dark story theory start? I mean, how long?
It's been almost 4 years. Yeah. The irony of it too is we're using the same practices and procedures to value properties that we always have, the same ones that my peers in the private sector use. We just do it on a bigger basis, one day a year. But the other side's argument has been that counties are using some new practice, a new procedure. That's actually opposite of the truth. Hypothetical lease fee was not a phrase I'd heard of before the first BOTA case, and I think it was a Sedgwick County case statewide occurred. And so we're all scrambling to look it up in our appraisal dictionaries, and it's really not meant to be a fee simple market value practice. You're really analyzing the value of the lease. It's a little more of a business value procedure, but they're saying exactly the opposite. They're trying to say that we're doing something new and that we're valuing the business, and neither one of those is true. So hopefully we'll be able to have a good ruling and be able to make that point very strong. Montoya is also going to be stressing the issue of constitutionality, because as we've talked before, every time we get a ruling that's less than fee simple value, and they're typically 45–50% reductions in value, it's a tax shift, and we've created a class of property owners that aren't held to the market value standards that are in our Constitution. So that'll be an interesting debate as well. But we're well prepared. Steve and I have spent a couple of weeks on phone, working back and forth by email with Mr. Montoya. And I think he'll represent Raleigh County very, very well. We did have a Kansas County Appraisers Association conference last week in Topeka. And some of you may have heard the name Chris Courtright. He was a longtime principal economist and member of that consensus revenue estimating group for the governor and for the legislature. He's been in a non-political, non-partisan role, or as much as they can be in Topeka, for I think it's 34 years. But he did a great presentation on the value of the three-legged stool concept, meaning don't put all your eggs in property taxes or sales tax or income tax. Try to have a balanced approach. And he talked about a lot of the exemptions that have been put into place and dark store rulings and other things that have really shifted that burden increasingly to property taxes here in Kansas. So I suspect he'll be invited to a lot of other events after that speech. It was very, very good. There's also a breakout session about dark store. And of course, everyone was wanting to know about our case and a couple in Johnson counties. And the value in going to things like this to me is so that we can, as a group statewide, try to make sure we're on the same page. When we go to BOTA, we want to try to use the same arguments and the same ways of presenting our evidence as much as we can to be consistent and to meet the standards in our code of ethics as appraisers. So, this conference was very good in that regard. Wrapping up here, we had 1,036 real estate sales in 2021 through the 31st of July. 872 of those were home sales. And if you've heard any of the talk in our community, man, the residential market is doing very, very well. And we've had many examples of folks who bid up the asking price to try to get the home. If a for sale sign is in the yard very long, it probably has got some issues or it's unique or something that's not the usual circumstance. They seem to be moving very, very quickly.
I was just talking to somebody the other day and they sold their house in 27 hours.
Wow.
Put it on the market, it was gone. It's over a weekend. It was gone in 27 hours. And they had a 15% over asking price bid.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't compare it yet to 2005, 6, and 7, but it's not that far behind that kind of market either. We're starting to see a few more for sale by owner signs again too. That's a common thing as the market's hotter and easier to sell, seller's market. And so that's a good sign, overall. And again, it's all about supply and demand. And that's telling me as an appraiser there's still more supply or less supply than there is demand. And I think my counterpart in Pot County would say the same thing about the western portion, especially of Potawatomi County. The median sale price for homes was $200,000. Average sale price $226,516, and we've had 208 building permits in 21 through the 31st. That's rising a little bit too. Our median residential sales ratio, and again that's county value divided by sale price, is 91%. That's the lowest that we've had in my 33 years in the business.
This is a good thing to go on so high.
They are. We were at 98% at the end of the year. And so that's telling me right now, it would look like, property values are going to increase a little more than they have in a few years here in Raleigh County. But again, sometimes things tail off just a little bit in the fall in our market. Most of the sales still occur typically from about the 1st of March through the end of August or September. But in this kind of market, I'm not sure there will be a cooling off period. So we'll see. And part of that obviously is money is still very, very inexpensive. If you can get a mortgage for 15-year mortgage for less than 3%, I would never have guessed that in my lifetime. I remember our first mortgage being 8%, and we thought that was a good rate at the time. So we'll see how things play out, but it doesn't sound like nationally we'll see a lot of movement on the interest rate in the short time frame, at least in the next several months. I listed our normal list of Board of Tax Appeals hearings there.
That's not all of them, is it?
No, this got cut off somewhere, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was looking at that going, that's great, but I wasn't.
Yeah,
I
we
was
should be
cautious.
about 2 more lines. Sorry.
If you could send that to us at some point in time. So
I
can
will.
keep updated on
When I
that.
get back to the office, I'll send that to you. Yeah, the list is a bit longer than that. Sure. We're obviously, part of the reason it's longer is we have filings now for 21 too. So. And just real briefly, you mentioned dark store. We're not here yet, but in some areas of the country and in the Midwest particularly, we're starting to get cases, interesting cases from tax reps on things like dollar stores, Casey's, Love's. It's not a Manhattan issue, it's a small community issue too, I think in the very, very near future. And the problem with that is, if you're in Riley or Leonardville and you happen to have a dollar store or Casey's or something like that, it's a big part of your tax base.
Wait till it starts hitting the farm implement and the co-ops.
I don't see where it stops
No,
unless, cases like the Home Depot coming up get back to a sense of reality. And really, it's not about revenue or taxes. It's really about how to appraise properties accurately. And simple does not mean hypothetical lease fee. It never has. We've just had about a 4-year run here where voters felt differently. And we hope we get back to what their historical rulings and ways of doing business have been.
On that sales ratio, 91, didn't you say you're supposed to be at 95?
Typically in Riley County, we've been between 97 and 100. In the last, I want to say about 3 years at least, we've been 98 or so on residential. The range by statute is between 90 and 110. Of course, we never want to be over 100. The danger in being in the low 90s is if the market continues the way it has been, we could fall out of compliance, by the end of the year. And we definitely don't want to do that. At the same time, we don't want to overappraise properties. But, we've had, we're probably looking at a record number of sales for the last 5 years at least. By the end of this year, we're well on that pace. And I looked at the number of pendings and, it's very high still too. So, that 91% could be in danger of being 90% in a month or two. I don't know.
What did you say that ratio was? What to what?
That's a good question. It's the county's value divided by the sale price. So of these 1,036 sales, or we'll say in the case, well, all of them, but in the case of the home sales, every valid sale, and of course by valid sale, I mean it doesn't have some sort of circumstance that influenced the value upwards of market value or below market value. Like a sale between a brother and a sister might not necessarily mean market value. It might be a family arrangement. A foreclosure is not market value. But anything that's a valid open market sale, our county does it. We do it internally, to keep track of the market and know where we're at for our values. But the state also does that, Property Valuation Division or PVD. And they look at all those sales in every county every month. At the end of the year, they give a report to you all and to our office that says what that median or midpoint ratio is for all of those sales that have occurred. And, we try to consistently be in the upper 90s without going over 100. We never have. And that just means that if you can be 98%, that means you're pretty darn accurate. Reaching market value most of the time very accurately.
So if we would somehow be out of compliance, what would that do to your appraisal process?
Well, I would hide under my desk.
Besides that.
Curl up and cry for a little while.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd maybe blame it on somebody else in the office. I don't know. Yeah. What really can happen is Property Valuation Division would reach out to me and potentially to you all and say, here's the situation, you're out of compliance. What steps are you implementing to remedy that? So they give me a chance to reply. And if that isn't sufficient, or if we don't do that, or if we do that and we're still out of compliance, then PVD comes into the office. And they'll basically kind of manage the office till they're satisfied that we're back in compliance. That's only happened in 2 or 3 counties over the last several years in Kansas. It's not very often. In a lot of cases, there are counties that just don't devote accurate resources and training and people to do the job well. And that's typically what gets them in trouble. We have a great team here, and you all support us and allow us to be trained at the highest level. We're a model county in terms of Kansas and beyond. And that's because you all support us as well as you do. And I think we could say that about a lot of county agencies here too.
But like I say, if it's 91% across the state, that realize this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you get that number. Are all the counties or other counties? From what I've heard, it's not just here.
Everybody's struggling. That's a great point. Yeah, and there is a report issued at the end of the year. Well, they completed by the end of the year. The report comes out very late. In this case, next spring. But there is actually a publication that puts every county's ratio study into a booklet, and it goes to the governor. It goes to the legislature, to the chairs of House Taxation, Senate Assessment and Taxation. They typically share it with their committees, and it's made available to yourselves as well. It's an interesting thing to read. I'm analytical, so I kind of get into it a little bit. But as you look through and look at the numbers, those median ratios, you tend to see trends. In the northeast part of the state, our trends are pretty typical usually. We're probably more appear to Johnson County than we are to Saline County or Reno County because we have more sales activity. We have more of the same kind of commercial developments and some of the same developers and property owners. And that all affects that ratio at the end of the day.
No, that's from what I understand from brothers speak that, they're the same thing. There's people selling houses faster than put a sign in the yard, it seems.
Yeah. Our youngest son is a commercial field producer in Kansas City area. And every month for the last 4 months, and he says, "Mom and Dad, I'm doing more business than I ever have." He's working a long set of hours every week to try to keep up. And that's a function of the demand for their kind of business because of all the sales in their thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good if you're selling, not if you're buying.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Everybody talks about, well, we could sell, but then you have to turn around and buy. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, Josh, you're up. We're running a few minutes behind.
Good morning, Josh Karen, County EMS Assistant Director. I'm here today to ask for approval to fill 3 positions. The first 2 will be PRN ALS. We are budgeted for 9 of those positions. We currently have 4. So these would be budgeted positions, and we would like to request to fill them internally from our full-time ranks. The third position is a full-time ALS or paramedic vacancy. We would like to advertise that internally and externally, and then fill that here in the coming weeks. There's no fiscal impact. These are budgeted positions. In fact, like I alluded to, we budget for 9 PRN ALS positions. One of the primary functions of a PRN position for us is to fill additional overtime and take some of that burden off of the full-time staff. So there may be some savings involved in having quality ALS applicants that we can fill these positions with, which we have. I can answer any questions or.
But I don't. I'm slow.
Not at all.
Because the PRA, that's the fill.
As needed, yeah. So if
as needed position, but you're saying moving from full-time Full-time people.
So
moving
we've had
part-time.
2 full-time resignations. The first one, I believe I was here about 2 weeks ago, and we reclassed that from an ALS to a BLS full-time opening. The second is the third position that I'm asking for today.
Oh, okay.
Both of those full-time individuals have requested to stay with the department, but in a PRN role as opposed to a full-time role.
Oh, okay, all right.
So they're known to us, their training is known to us, their competence is known to us, and in a market with few quality paramedics, we would like to hold on to it.
Sure. Yeah. I didn't, but honestly, on one it says move from full-time to the other one said you want to move from PRN to full-time, but I guess that's just the way those people who tell them want to move to full-time, so.
Correct.
Back off.
It's kind of a.
Did you get the earlier email on the subject?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. That kind of gives you some explanation as to what's going on here, so. I think you're doing the best you can.
It's historically a bit of a transient workforce, especially in a college town. So we're not new to these kind of changes in status. I think we've weathered the storm pretty well, actually. Doesn't mean I don't think that they're like the email alluded to. I don't believe we're necessarily out of the woods. I think there's still some shifting that will occur over the next year. But I don't personally believe that we'll experience some of the things you read about in other areas, or especially in other areas in healthcare.
Do you need a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the positions and be made available both internally as well as externally.
I'll second.
Okay. It's been moved and second on the request to fill open positions in EMS and ambulance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All 3, sign please. Appreciate your support. All right, thanks, sir. Have a good weekend.
You guys did
Have a good weekend, Josh. Thank you.
Take care.
You too. Okay, I've got a couple of minutes, so thank you. Okay, John.
John Elliman, Public Works Director. I'm here to ask to extend our seasonal positions from now to about the end of the year. Mainly so we can use them in the Parks Department, or for the Parks Department. We've had a couple of them over the summer, about a little over 500 hours worth of their time, and I think there's still 1,000 hours left of seasonal help to be had. Plenty of work for them to be doing it as far as weeding and mowing, and we're finished putting together a park or doing some other, always something to do for parks. Even during wintertime shoveling and stuff, but if we can get some in, we sure would put them to work.
So this isn't really based on a particular time frame. It's based off of a set of specific hours. Is that right?
Right, so the budget is specific hours, but the position was open for a specific time frame. So when we approved it originally, we had an end date of September 15th, but the budgeted hours are nowhere near being used up.
Okay.
And we talked about it, I mean, obviously, we just spend them because it's there, but there's a significant amount of work for those seasonal labor to do up until December 15th.
Has that been an issue with keeping people on?
I think it's been a little bit difficult for the summer when he wasn't able to hire as many as he would have liked to have had.
It's been a challenging position to fill, yeah.
Yeah.
Along with all the other positions. I mean, I don't
That's around
think
the
it's
board. Yeah. It's around the
pretty
board.
consistent, and no matter what type of position, it's full-time, part-time.
So they do shovel the parks in the, if we get a snowstorm?
Well, like around Seco, and they help plow snow for
Okay.
roads too, the Parks Department does. These kids probably won't do that part of it, but they would do some of the hay shoveling around the buildings in Seco or the building audits.
In all of this area, they do all this area.
Particularly all this area.
I was just wondering what they would do if we, got really cold and, they couldn't work,
But
Hopefully it's not
there's
that
still a lot of
cold
warm
in
days
November,
left.
hopefully.
We still have quite a few warm days
Yeah.
left for beads and breasts.
Yeah.
And those type of things, mulching and.
But, and David was gave you a list, because I wanted to make sure that there was, a need, and was I missing something, or did he miss something on the day? But he talked about what he would have them do between now and then. He had a myriad of projects, but some of the obvious were picking up trash, mowing, weed eating, cleaning bathrooms, picking up tree limbs, trimming trees, and he said, could go on and on.
Okay.
So he had specific, he has a specific plan for that. I had the same question, and just wanted to make sure that it was a justified extension. But he definitely has a plan.
Good, okay.
Go ahead and move to approve extending the expiration date to December 15th. 21.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to extend the expiration date for park seasonal labor. All those in favor?
Aye.
All three, please. Thanks, John.
And I hope you just didn't jinx us for snow. Just tell that.
At least we'll be well prepared.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
No, I don't think anybody can do that necessarily.
We're not gonna get any snow until January.
Yeah, right. Then we'll get a deluge.
Famous last words.
Yeah.
Write that down on your calendar
Yeah,
there,
right.
underneath the July, or no, I guess you changed it already. Put a little asterisk on this date and come back to it.
You can put it on mine on the June page if you want.
Yeah.
When it comes before January, it'd be prime time for evaluation.
Right.
Wrong again, Ellen.
There would be, no guessing formulas aren't accurate. Change them, please.
Maybe you should consider a career in meteorology.
I actually did at one point in time, but I couldn't do the math.
Oh, yeah.
Job to be wrong 50% of the time. Job.
Yeah, really, be a weatherman.
Oh, I've got a list. I have a list.
Keith really wanted to work.
Mhm.
Take a job in San Diego.
Yeah,
72.
72, 52 in the morning, sunshine.
See you, John.
Okay,
Have a good
Amanda.
weekend.
Go ahead. Yep.
Alright.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Amanda Smart, Planning Director. Just a quick item for you this morning. So due to immediate resignation, we lost our as-needed clerical assistant last week. And so we are certainly wanting to refill that position as soon as we can, even though it's been part-time, it's definitely proven invaluable to have that person there. They kind of serve as the frontline customer service, reception, back up all the different employees. So yeah, it's a really, really valuable position. So I'm hoping to get permission to refill, advertise immediately and refill and just hope that I get some good applicants. So, can you answer any questions?
That was the one that we,
Just recently approved it this year.
okay, that's what I thought.
It was a new,
Yeah, new position.
But technically, it wasn't budgeted for this year.
that's right, but she has
Correct.
funding, she worked with,
Right.
she did have funding within the budget, she
Right.
wasn't using any new budget money. Correct, yes.
Well, I would make a motion to approve to refill the as-needed clerical assistant for planning and development.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on fill the vacant as needed clerical assistant planning and development department. All those in favor?
Aye.
All three, please.
Thank you very much.
Mhm. Done signing stuff today?
I think so.
I finally get my tallies up, send a bill.
So what is it?
Mhm.
$500?
Check will be in the mail. The first chance we get.
Well, accounts payables going through, so it should be able to go through.
Oh, that's way done. You have to get it way ahead of time.
No, that's not how it works.
Send the bill.
John lets us know.
Well, I can't.
Well, we're not
call
gonna
him to
call
let
him.
him know.
You have a carrier pigeon in your pocket?
Yeah, does he have an office phone?
Yeah, it's
It's still
about
gonna take
20
me 15
miles
minutes
away,
to get
20
there.
minutes from here.
Let me see, can you get it?
No, it's
Oh, really? There's a trash can over there.
It's whose?
It's John's.
It's got cardinal stuff on it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, just toss it. It's all good. He won't miss it. Okay, we have
I'm gonna let you off the hook. I'm gonna ask we table this till Monday. I'm gonna need more time than we've got anyway, so.
Question, and that went back to your first discussion.
Uh-huh.
You talked about having to go through some procedures for the asbestos removal. Is that contract held up then?
No, it won't be. I've talked to John.
No.
It's basically just sending some notice, but it has to be in a particular form.
Okay.
I didn't make
No,
it-
but had to be
we already
before.
passed that beforehand anyway. Right?
Yeah, but it makes sense. Once it's designated, it's designated. And once it's listed, and again, this is more just a matter of notice. It's not something that damages or destroys anything. In fact, it makes the product
Yeah.
usable. So I'm not concerned, having the risk of jinxing us. I have no reason to believe this will be refused or that there'll be any kind of controversy. They'll probably even excuse some elements of the notice, elements that normally would be provided with the notice we don't have to do. So we'll see. And I talked to John, and I think we can work with it. I don't think it'll be a problem. Once again, jinxing. If it is a problem, it's not my fault. I think it'll be fine. But if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to table that executive session to Monday.
Do you need a motion for it?
Be best, since you moved it by motion.
Okay, move the table. Plans executive session until next week.
I would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and second on the tabling of the executive session until let's see, August 16th. Okay, all those in favor?
Thanks very much.
Okay, anybody have anything else? I've got one item. I didn't get this till last night, so I didn't get a chance to get it pushed through channels yet. Maybe all received an email on this, just throwing it out there. But tomorrow is City Hall Selfie Day. But county's gonna, KAC is gonna do something too. So just thought if we were thinking about it today, maybe walk on over there, take a picture with the courthouse. Maybe all 5 of us, we get somebody to snap a photo with my phone, and I'll push it out through social media tomorrow.
Sure.
So we're smiling, stand out in the heat for 5 minutes.
Smile's an extra $10, especially on a hot day.
I've got a big enough bill coming to you. $10 won't be a big deal. So, okay. You graciously snap a photo of all of us out there off my phone. A couple of
Or John's phone.
Or John.
I think that's a better idea.
You could get some use out of that. Okay. Okay. But if you want to do that, I'll go ahead and take a couple photos. I'll let Kim over at KAC know that we're doing that, and I'll push it out through channels tomorrow. So,
Okay.
okay. That's all I've got.
Don't understand that, but I don't follow that.
Don't worry about
Media
it.
junk.
Just stand there and smile. That's all I need you to do. Huh?
I didn't know what it was either. Someone in a different county said they had it.
They did it they've done it the last couple of years. I think Saline County did something last year.
Oh, really? I haven't
Yeah,
heard of it.
so, I just thought,
So it's a county selfie day.
yeah. The league, I think, started that with City Hall, but we're gonna do it in front of the courthouse, give our courthouse a little bit of exposure around the state extra.
It looks good right now.
Exactly.
That's look good.
So, okay, so we'll do that here shortly. In the meantime, before that, I guess if we have nothing else, I need a motion for adjournment.
It's adjourned.
No, it's second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on adjournment of the August 12th, 2021 BOCC meeting.